People, welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl Adara, and I'm Sharif, and we're going to wait for everyone to come on over from the other stream. I think we're having a little bit of issues. I couldn't find it, Adara couldn't find it, and then all of a sudden we were able to find it. But we already have some early birds there in the chat. We got the OG Darwin, we got the Sofa Monster, I see you, sir. We got Brandon Townsend, what's up? Charan Tej, what's up to you, my friend? We have the world's greatest moderator, not you, Cal Canis. I'm talking about Bears versus Bulls. We got Callum Mitchell Miller. We got Cohen Clock, and I always mess up this guy's name. Charlie Taft, Forlats. We got Jimmy J. We got Andrew Cho. We got Jonathan Kenai, Solo Cristo. We got Ronaldo, Jack. What's up, man? Sonny Choi. We got David Beach, Zorro. Oh, okay. Brett Benden, Andrew. We got Insurance Mama. What's up, Insurance Mama? Big Kyle Burdett. We got D-Loaf. We got Adam DeLuce, baby. We have everybody. Thank you guys for joining Adara and I on How to Trade. We're going to be talking about range trading all week. But before we get to that, let's introduce our awesome host, Adara. What's up?
Hi, yeah, I am great. How are you? Ravi Patel asking, where's the tiger you brought back in the chat here?
Oh, there are no tigers in Africa. They're in Asia.
That
usually,
makes, yeah, no, I enjoyed that
yeah,
chat, so I wanted to shout that out. I mean, right now, we've got the turtle, that's our pet du jour here.
Yes.
Trend to ticker, the trading turtle on the How to Trade desk. Yeah, honestly, not looking at much right now. Sharif and I were lamenting the breakdown of that gorgeous Tesla range we had earlier. I'll switch to the 3 so you can see it a little bit better. It was present on the 3 and also the 1 minute, I think, really clear. Look at this beautiful range. Chef's kiss, 175 up into, also, I drew these levels in the pre. So, like, this is crazy that this level held up really well here, this 176. Yeah. That was the base of the range.
So we're talking
176.50 up to 177. And then we fell with the viciousness, with the swiftness. RIP this range. So it's too bad we didn't have this range to trade on this range week. But, yeah, I mean, I don't have much. I'm just kind of keeping my eyes open to see what the market would like to give me. What about you? What are you
I'm just looking at Meta right now, Adara. I got to tell you, it looks awfully good here. Nice 507 hold, Fabian. And then it pops up right through 511. I got a bit of a dip trade on it earlier, profitable for $1. But that really isn't the trade here. The trade was more to the downside. And let's be real about it. I kind of got a little lucky getting this dollar over here, but all it made its way down from 510.50 where I got in all the way down to 507. Now it is right back where I got out, 511.5, 511.33 on its way to 512. We'll have to see how much this one can recover. The market is off the bottoms, holding at pivots, so we'll keep an eye on these levels. But before we get to the lesson, we already have a couple of super chats here, so I just want to address them super quick. We got Donnie. Welcome to Trader TV. Shout out to you, my man. Thank you for joining the best trading crew on the net. Richardson, $11.99 super chat. And that's euros, baby. That's not even dollars. What's up, Sharif and Adara? Let's get ready to make some money, money, money. Wish everyone a great trading day. Thank you very much, Richardson. And thank you for sending your good vibes. Definitely appreciate you. And stick around, because we're about to start the lesson. So let's do that right now. We were talking about range trading all week, Adara's favorite type of range. Today we're going to be talking about false breakouts and, say that again? Yeah, do your thing. No worries. I'm just listening to the Chilean Nightmare. He's on his own today. Ram is off, so we gotta pack our patience. He's doing a great job today. Shout out to Fabian, the Chilean Nightmare, baby. False breakouts and confirmation strategies are what we are talking about today, so let's get right to that. We talk about basically a common enemy, right, in the trading range, which is the false breakout. I don't know how many people I've ever talked to that said they like false breakouts. No, usually it's quite the opposite. So we'll learn how to identify these deceptive moves and employ what we call confirmation strategies to enter winning trades with the confidence. So let's go ahead and do that. So, but first, before we get to that, what are false breakouts? Let's define that so we know what we're talking about here. So imagine a price trapped between support and a resistance. I'll get that right. A false breakout occurs when the price seemingly breaks above resistance, which is a bull trap, or below support, which is a bear trap, only to reverse quickly and return within that predefined range that it was trading within. These false moves can inflict losses on unsuspecting traders, goes without saying. Here are a couple of examples. So here is a bullish, or what we call a bull trap. So look, it's trading from the sell side over here at 88 pennies. You got 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, 4 touch, and then you actually get the actual breakout. So you had multiple false breakouts earlier only to finally accumulate, and this is what we call accumulation, and then you have the breakout of that level and it's no longer the false breakout there. Conversely, when you're looking for a false breakdown, this one was a bit more bamboozling. So you get a touch, you get another touch, and then you get the breakdown below that key level, well below that key level, even closes below that, only to retrace and actually break through resistance. So sometimes that happens. And you know, a lot of times, these will be called specialist breakouts or breakdowns. And the reason they're called specialist breakouts or breakdowns is because people are trying to push the price that way to catch people offside, only to move it in the opposite direction. This is done by market makers, big money players, etc. And it's a way of, you know, basically taking your money. So hard to defend against, but we're going to give it the old college try, so to speak. So why do false breakouts happen? There are actually several reasons. The first, and the one that I see most often, is a low volume breakout, right? A weak breakout lacking strong buying or selling pressure leads to what we call a false move. But there's also stop loss hunting, right? We know that for a fact. We know big money traders as well as market makers on the other side. They're looking to push you out of your position. And so the way to do that is by triggering your stop, right? So traders with positions near the support and resistance levels might have stop loss orders placed just about outside the range. Whether you're taking a long or a short, you're going to place it above or below support and resistance. So a price spike above or below those levels can cause these orders to trigger, creating a false breakout fueled by automated buying and selling. So make sure, you know, when you're placing your stop, obviously a lot easier said than done, to be able to place it in the right position so not to get stopped out by false breakout, but knowing about it is kind of half the battle here. And there's also market noise. There's a lot of market noise. Random news events or short-term fluctuations can cause temporary price spikes that don't reflect the true trend change. This could happen on, you know, a number of different reasons. You get a CPI print that we get tomorrow, and so all of a sudden something that was awfully bearish gets a nice bull pump to the high side, and you get stopped out of your shorts. Conversely, non-farm payrolls, jolts, any of these different types of numbers, and the number that moves the market will change depending on what's in vogue at the time. What is the market looking at? Is it jobs? Is it GDP? Is it inflation? So you have to know which numbers are going to be the market moving numbers, okay? And that just comes with experience. So let's talk about identifying these false breakouts. Here are some techniques to spot false breakouts. Look for the price action, right? So look for weak follow through after the breakout. So you get a nice breakout. Is it leaving that level with vigor? Is there volume to support the moving of that level? Or is it a perfunctory break and then you kind of trend a little bit there at the breakout spot, not leaving it behind kind of thing? Does the price struggle to stay above resistance or quickly fall below support? So keep your eye on the price action, try to spot some divergences there. Volume. We mentioned this already, but false breakouts often lack significant volume compared with genuine breakouts. Low volume, in this case, will suggest a lack of conviction behind the price move. And candlestick patterns. Keep your eye on these candlestick patterns, right? Price action reversal patterns like bearish engulfing patterns after a fake bullish breakout or vice versa can indicate a potential fake out. Adair was talking yesterday about the bullish engulfing candle. I think it was on Tesla. What was it on? You have an eidetic memory.
I think it
was pretty close.
I think it was
one of the big cap names.
It was one of the mega caps, yeah.
Yeah, so keep your eye on candlestick patterns. They often can foreshadow a little bit as to what may be coming. And here are some confirmation strategies. All right, the Chilean nightmare is back, baby. Here are some confirmation strategies. Don't fall prey to the fake out. Here is how to confirm the breakout. Look for the price close, right? A breakout is more credible in my opinion, if the price closes beyond the support and resistance level on a daily or higher time frame. I've often mentioned this to you guys. There are two ways that John J. Murphy advocated confirmation above a price level in his book. There was the 3% rule or the 3-day rule. And the 3% rule goes like this. You close 3% above or below the level that you were looking at. So you're looking for a close that is in excess of 3% above or below, depending on whether you're going long or short. Or there's a 3-day rule. You're looking for 3 straight days of closing prints above or below the level that you're looking at, again, depending on whether you're going long or short. So that is a strategy that you guys could try employing there, okay? There's also the volume spike. Look for a significant increase in the volume accompanying the breakout, suggesting strong buying or selling pressure. And there's also a host of technical indicators that you could use. Moving average crossovers. We talked about the golden cross or the death cross, which is when the 50 and the 200 overlap each other. Or you could use indicators like the relative strength index, looking at overbought or oversold conditions. These can add confirmation to your analysis. And remember, guys, right? Patience is key. By waiting for the confirmation before entering a trade, you can significantly reduce the risk of getting caught in a false breakout. I hope you guys do well today. Adair?
Yeah, no, thank you for that lesson. Yeah, I'm still trying to think of what that bearish engulfing was. I'm pretty sure it was Tesla, but yeah, this is gonna bug me. Anyways, though, what's kind of sort of bugging me, although I'm trying to be like water, as Obi was saying last week. Shout out again to him for killing it there. NVDA. So this was, I want to talk about this trade because I like how I planned this trade. Nice. And now in order to stick the landing, we have to be able to respect the stop loss. So we're gonna have to get out of this here. But I do want to explain what I was trying to do with this trade. So basically the goal with this trade was I was trying to start building the position. I was noticing we were going higher. Somebody even in the chat as well was mentioning NVIDIA long. So what I was watching is if we fail this 840, this is going to be short, right? If we hold the 840, it could be a long. I was waiting for a dip buy. I was waiting way too long. I should have just been getting involved. So then what I was noticing, why I decided to get involved here, is I said, you know what, Adara, this 840 was holding up really well at the time. This was previous resistance, as you can kind of see here. We had support, then we had resistance, then we had resistance, then we come curl back up here, we fight it, then we become support, right? So I said, I like this 840, so I started building a position. And this was a planned DCA, I want to clarify. We put a third of the position, 840, added another third, 840.50, got the rest into 840. I said, if we break below 839, I'm outie. We did, and I was. So I have to say, even though we did lose on this trade, I am proud of how I executed it. I'm trying to worry less about P&L and more just about the execution and how it went down. So I have to say, I am pleased as punch about this trade, even though it was a loser. Because sometimes you have to, calling it a loser is a little mean to the trade. So, sorry, trade at an NVDA. But I mean, we didn't win on it, right? So I was just proud of the execution. And sometimes you have to focus on the small victories. So there we go. How are you doing? What are you looking at? Still Meta?
I'm still looking at Meta.
Little beak wetters there.
Yeah, that was earlier. We took $1 on Meta there earlier. But right now, it's doing the dance with no pants with 511. So it did a bit of a 4-minute retracement off that quick 513 touch. Now it's trying to decide whether it's going to go ahead and break 513 for another local high or break through 511 or consolidate. So yeah, I just mentioned the only possible 3 outcomes there. So we'll keep eyes on that. The other thing that I'm keeping my eye on is Apple. We saw the big kahunas talk about the strength of Apple today, and right now it's retraced that entire move off 170. So that would have been a really good entry. We know that 170 was an area of support for Apple before it broke through. Now it should act as resistance, and today it definitely did that. So 170.08 HOD on AAPL, but what I like is this Adara Panera trade here, which is starting to range a little bit above that closing print from yesterday, which is about 168.50 or thereabouts. We don't have a 168.50 touch at the bottom end of the range. In fact, it's kind of ranging here 20 pennies or 20 pennies or 25 pennies, depending on what you're really looking at, 30 pennies here. Between, like, let's just say 168.90 and 168.80. So a bit of a sideways move, trying to hold that pre-market low end of the range. Like, look at this area in the pre-market here from around 840 to around 935. That was the low. 168.860 was the low there, and this was the high as well. So we make a whole V-shaped move right back in, into that area that we were in the pre-market. So let's figure out exactly what Apple's going to do here, and then we could try to weasel our trade in. Are there execution issues on ARCA? Are you having any execution issues? People are? I'm not. Okay, so we may be having execution issues here, so we're going to keep an eye on that with ARCA, specifically the gateway. Oh, my contact lens almost came out there. So we'll keep an eye on that. Now, I've also got small cap gappers that I'm keeping my eye on. Obviously, everybody in the pre-market was talking about LASE, LACE or LAS or whatever. This thing shot up from $1.40 where it closed out yesterday almost to $4.50. Technically, the high of day, $4.48. But look at this. I only have 3 rules for these small cap gappers. Definable pre-market high, trading above the pre-market high, and trading above VWAP. This one is doing its darndest to try to get back above the volume weighted average price, which is hanging out at that $3.55 area. So I definitely want to get into this if it's able to reclaim VWAP on a closing basis, not just a quick wham, bam, thank you, VWAP, and then right back down to break 3. There's no execution problem, says the Katina man. Good, good. All right. So then we can go in, no problem here. The other one that I'm keeping an eye on was MDAI. What is going on? MDIA. I was like, what is this? MDIA. I'm like, I knew I had the wrong symbol in there.
There is an MDAI.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how come this is not moving? I thought this was supposed to be a good one. And I had the wrong one. Okay, so here that. This one is tradable. Or was a second ago. It just broke below the volume weighted average price. It doesn't seem to be respecting VWAP all that much. In fact, it really looks to be doing the dance here with the 20-period moving average, which is the yellow solid line on my chart. So we're going to be looking at some small cappers today. This one's up 45 and 2/3%. I had some other ones on here, but they've since given up the ghost. I'm talking about BSGM. It really rocketed there through $1, got into $3. Now it's like giving back the whole move, trying to hold the $1.50. So this one's not tradable for me. We had DXYZ from yesterday. A lot of people were talking about that today. It looks like the short was in play today off that one, I don't know, this one got into 122. There in the pre-market, it's down to $62. So this one's down 50 some odd %, I guess, from that 4 a.m. open. So this one's absolutely tanking. That's DXYZ. And then the last but not least here in small cap gapper world is ACRV. Nice pump up there at 7 a.m. Didn't even bother looking to see what the catalyst was. It has a definable pre-market high. However, since putting in that high at $11, it's been sequentially lower highs and lower lows, and now it's trading below the volume weighted average price. So this one's going to have to get back into more positive looking shapes here on the chart before we get involved in ACRV, Adair.
Yeah, I mean, so I want to talk about this NVIDIA because I do appreciate everybody in the chat here as well saying, you know, my patience was not there when I left the initial trade. I should have held on to it. That's fair. We did end up bouncing back up, and that's why I got back involved. But I want to talk about it because I do really appreciate all the feedback here. And I think my thing is the reason I left was because that was how I'd planned the trade. So maybe the issue is how I'm planning the trades, right? That could be what's happening. Like I said, I wanted to, if we broke below 839, I wanted to get out. We ended up getting all the way down to 838. I honestly think, because I know myself, I would have been panic station population 1 had I been staying in that trade, right? So and I would have panic sold either way. So I think in the way, because I stuck to my plan, I am still proud of what I did there. Nice. Now this second one as well, this was another planned one. And again, maybe the issue is here, I should be planning to stay in trades longer. But even, I mean, yesterday, I was really proud of yesterday. That was one of the best trading days I've had in a while. And that was purely scalp. Like, I don't really think there were any trades that I did yesterday that were not planned range scalps. So, or the ones that weren't planned range scalps, they went a little bit more awry, right? So I think I'm trying to be a little bit more cognizant and thinking really, thinking a lot harder about what trades work for me and why and which ones don't. And so with that in mind, I did want to be scalpier. So I do want to talk about the second NVIDIA trade. So I got involved here 840. I noticed the bounce. And to be clear, my lowest DCA in that other trade was 840 as well. So honestly, the entry point for me to restart this trade it made more sense. So anyhow, neither here nor there. I took out part of this for about $1.50. I like this 841.50. That was a previous area of resistance. we leave, please just punch. Then I want to save a piece for the dream for this 844 area. So that's highly specific, but I liked it because I did find this whole area here. We had some failed breaks above a couple times. I thought 844 could be local resistance for our friend NVDA. So I wanted a pièce de résistance. I got out just shy of that 843 area because I figured that's where we could start to see a little bit of chop and turn as we head into 844. That it did end up working out. But I think, again, to make a long story short and to stop rambling about one trade, or I guess two trades, the point I'm trying to make is I am trying to work on patience, but I think part of that is structuring the trades that work for me. And I think if I have a plan, I still owe it to myself to execute that plan accordingly. And if that means leaving, that means leaving. So yeah, that's my take on that. I hope that makes sense. And I do really appreciate everybody's feedback and stuff in the chat, because I am trying to learn from everybody every day and also find a strategy that works for me. So that's my NVDA. Not looking at much else yet today. I've been basically married to NVIDIA, but NVIDIA's cousin and the CEO's actual second cousin, AMD, oh, you sure you knew where I was going with that, is also kind of getting interesting to me here. So NVIDIA, also this range on AMD would have been gorgeous earlier. But yeah, much like NVIDIA, we are seeing a bit of a curl back to the upside, right? I want to see what we do here at VWAP. VWAP, again, not always an important area, but this VWAP happens to come a little bit into confluence with that earlier area that we were rejecting a little bit, that 169.40. We have these wicks to the downside. We end up coming back earlier, but the point is I like the support. I think, could we reject here at resistance? Je ne sais pas, but I want to keep my eyes on it. It's on my side chart and maybe in my heart. How are you doing over here?
Brad Oldman wants me to have a look at ARM, and I was looking over at ARM, and I actually liked what I saw. I love that 125 bottom that it was able to hold. Let's bring that in. By the way, I have a dip trade set up on Meta. We'll see if it triggers or not, but I'm going to leave that there. Let's switch to the 1 minute on ARM here because I kind of want to show this 125 hold. Now, technically, it does break 125, right? It goes all the way down to 124.50, but that's a wick. That's not the actual closing print, right? All the closing prints this morning have all been north of 125, and 125, is this a pivot level? Yeah, it is a pivot level. Okay, so I don't have the pivots activated on this, but this is a pivot level, so it's nice that it holds at that level. Anyway, let's keep an eye here. Look, Brad, I think this is an interesting level where it's at, namely because that 126.50 or thereabouts was the bottom end of this kind of consolidation range that we had after that big quadunk at the open. We kind of bottomed out, let's say 126, 126.50, popped back up near 128, and then all the way right back down to 125. Now we're right back at that 126.50 again, or 126, now breaking down below 126 into 125.90s. But that's the whole point there. I feel like this was an obvious area of support. Now it's starting to act as a bit of a resistance area. But I got to tell you, Brad, if this comes back down into 125 territory, I like this for a long. I mean, how many times do you need proof that someone was buying this at 125? And this hammer candle here, the one that actually broke down into 124.50, it's a hammer candle, which by definition is more bullish, meaning to me that someone was buying this plenty down here. So again, if this comes back into 125, I like it as a long, owing to the consolidation bottom over here. But I want to see, if you're not going to take it off 125, I want to see proof that it breaks and holds above that 126.50 and gets out of that consolidation range that we put in the morning. So we'll see exactly what happens there with ARM. Keep me updated with respect to your trade. I put in a dip trade here on Meta, but it looks like it's destined to go unfilled, as now we are in the mid 513s on META, and I'm sitting here like a schmuck at 512.25. Trying to get a dip trade. Don't want to chase this. This initially here, this dollar win that I had earlier on Meta was a dip trade. So I want to just stay true to the technique here, even though it looks like it is going without me. Here comes 514 on META, now down only 1% as it works its way back up, Adara.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of working its way back up, NVIDIA is bouncing off this 842 level like a glove. I like it. I am a fan. I did accidentally take a short. We made a cool 4 pennies on that accidental short there. Fat finger move on NVDA. I just want to address that. I put that in the chat there as well. So if anyone saw that NVDA short was like, arr, oh my gosh, I did it right. I never do it right. This could be arr. But yeah, that's why. I just wanted to address that. But also, you know, if NVIDIA, if you want to keep bouncing off 842, fine by me. Fine by me. So that gives you about, like, I still see this 844 as a massive resistance area, and NVIDIA hasn't done anything to change my mind about that. So If it keeps her, honestly, I could have stayed in this short too, but the thing is, it wasn't planned, so why would I, right? That's why I got out. But let's see what we do here at 842.50. We could be seeing, as we continue to curl to the upside, we could actually be seeing these higher lows. So if 842.50 is the new bounce area, I'm cool putting half the position in there, then saving a piece for, I guess not saving a piece for the dream, but I'm waiting to add until 8:42 and then beefing up the position. There. I'm not right now.
Oh, okay,
no.
okay.
I'm just talking about, I'm waxing poetic about NVDA. But yeah, I have to look at other stocks. I've been spending way too much time looking at NVDA. Someone was asking if we could take a peek at Cisco, and we can. And this is nice. Let's look at the 5-minute here on Cisco. Yeah, this is a cool look. We have this little, look at this little candle here with this wick to the downside saying, hey, sellers, not right now, not today, at this 84.60 level. Higher highs, higher lows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 5-minute candles to the upside. This is the 5 minutes. This is a nice look. I think this is a really nice one here. And then again, like higher highs, higher lows. 45 minutes of straight green here on Cisco. So certainly not a bad time. Let's look at the daily chart for some levels for our pal CSCO, which also, if anyone's seen those, this was like a while ago. This is when NVIDIA was really having that rally. But if anyone saw those charts comparing NVIDIA to Cisco with regards to the strength of those rallies, when I say Cisco, I mean Cisco in the .com era. It's really fascinating. A lot of of course, not the charts were the exact same, but certainly worth comparing their runs at that time. So I just thought that was interesting. But Cisco right now, actually having a beautiful base here at this 47.50 area. Now this is on the daily chart, but I kind of like the range on this, honestly, if this was happening on not a daily chart. The one thing that I would keep an eye out there for is a flat bottom with lower highs. Could we be flat bottom breaking on the daily? Shouldn't say Paul, but I would be cognizant of this level. It looks like there is some resistance at that 53 area. A little bit of support here earlier. When I say earlier, we're talking October. Then we get this November 16th area, and then we fall to the downside. We try to come back into 53. Hey, can I come in? Cisco like, nah, 53 said, no, thank you. We rejected. So I think this 53 level, interesting resistance, clear support around this 48, 47.50 around where we were trading earlier in the day. So nice look here for Cisco. Mahmoud asking me to please check out Tesla trading below VWAP. And yeah, no worries here. Let me take a look at T to the S to the L to the A. Yeah, this is not one I have. I drew these lines earlier. And like I said, I think this 176.50 that ended up being a really interesting level of support for that 1-minute range we were talking about earlier. Sharif and I both were like, oh, this range trade was beautiful. And then I come to sit down and Tesla's like, bye-bye range, flew to the downside. So, but yeah, that was that bottom of this range, and this ended up becoming a resistance area. So that 176.50 I drew for whatever reason in the pre, certainly, and I just say for whatever reason because I don't remember what my impetus was to draw that line, but I do think it's a really clear level here. Support, resistance. Now we're falling below this earlier support area of 175.50. So honestly, Mahmoud, my only read on this is lower highs, lower lows. If we do come back up, I would say watch like a hawk what we do at 176.50. I hope that helps. I think this chart generally is very much continuing to the downside.
Down. I was in Sim yesterday, Fabian, and today I'm not in Sim, so I know you're all alone there. So if you're able to change that, because I'm in a position now on Meta, and it's not showing on the board. But guys, I'm long Meta now at 512.25. This is the dip trade that I wanted. I didn't want to chase it up at these levels. My line in the sand is going to be the break of 511. So see this trough over here? It's got to hold the higher low. If it doesn't hold the higher low, in my trade analysis, it's no longer valid. It could be valid in somebody else's, but the way I'm trading it, not going to be valid based on that. So we'll see if we can wet our beak here with a little profit on META. Well, that's the wrong one. We don't want to add. There we go. Take some profit there on Meta, and we're going to let the rest of this run. Where are we here with Meta? So, okay, nice, 75 pennies in the money. Let's see if we can continue to go here with that dip. Now, I've also set up another dip trade here on AAPL. I want to play this Adara-Panera range, right? I mean, it keeps bouncing off 168.60 and coming up into that 168.90. I guess, it's not a big, actual move, but you could share size into that, right? Thanks, Fabian, I appreciate you. So that's what I'm looking at there. I'm looking at Meta. Now we're $1 in the money on Meta. We're going to let this one go. I want to see something along the lines of 515. or thereabouts. That's where the volume weighted average price is hanging out. It's hanging out at high 515s. On my other chart, it's showing 515.90 something. So if it makes its way up there, that would just be aces. We'll see exactly what we get on META. It's still down 1 1/4, so let's be real about it. It is a bit of a counter trend trade here. Let's flip back to AAPL. Yeah, AAPL doesn't look like, it looks like as if I'm too ambitious here with my dip trade on Apple. I'm sitting here at 168.55. But the better level, to be quite honest, is at 168.60. I just wanted 55s because, you know, I didn't want to be in the position where, you know, it basically goes against you. So if I had a lower price, I figured that'd be a little bit better. We'll have to wait and see exactly what we get on these bad boys, but I'll nurse the trade that I've actually got on at the moment here, 513. I'm looking for 515 plus on META. Let's see if we get it there.
Yeah, hopefully that will not be a meta fill. It will be a mega fill there for you on META. But yeah, so I'm in back in NVIDIA. Shocker, plot twist. Yeah, no, I find these ranges have been pretty strong. We're still holding that 140 area. Right now, though, I am cognizant of the lower highs, so I'm basically trying to take this for about $1, about 141. If we bounce off this 839 area, I'm going to add to the position there. So I'm trying to see, we don't have a huge position, which is why I'm taking basically everything out here. If we keep holding up, what I might do too is take out part at 841, then hold a piece for the dream. But in NVIDIA, you do want to sleep with one eye open, or maybe two eyes open. So you do really want to be cognizant of what we're doing here on N to the V to the D to the A. So NVIDIA, let's see what you're doing. I also have to keep an eye on that Apple though, because that looks like I might want to take a bite out of this range as well. This is gorgeous. So really nice. You have that base of that 168.60, 168.80 top. If you take this with enough shares, I would probably be pleased as plunge by that trade. Also, NVIDIA falling down to the downside just a skosh here. So let's see if we hold up this level. We will add. Right now, though, I'm going to be a little bit more patient. We're not getting out of this until I see what we do at that 838 area, because that was an area we bounced off earlier, and I did leave the trade a skosh early. I was a little early to the party, and then I left too early. So we're going to add a couple shares here. Let's see, there we go. So there we go, adding a little bit to this trade. Let's see what we do at 838 on NVDA. What else are people looking at here? Oh, also Richardson, shout out to Richardson, gifting 5 Trading TV Live memberships. So shout out to you. That's awesome. We have a great community here, so that's stoked that people are gifting memberships and other people can join in this community, because we have a pretty good time. Oh, yeah. We have a great time. Max asking us to look at Viru, so let's take a look at.
I thought he was back there.
Oh, it's someone. Oh, sarcasm. Yeah. Oh, his chair's empty right now.
Obi! Wave to the people, Obi. There he is.
He's saying peace to the people. But yeah, VERU, 2.7 million in volume. Let me switch to the 5-minute on our pal, our new friend, potentially, VERU. Yeah, this is nice. You know, we're riding that 9 EMA very nicely here. Volume, pretty consistent volume as well for these volume candles. Is there, oh, this is a penny stock. It's below $1. Not seeing any catalyst on this one. Let's check our float there. Okay, VERU. Yeah, so this short float of about 7.58%, but float of about 125 million shares, because it's a penny stock. So yeah, this nothing super significant here. Just continuing to see higher highs, higher lows. Not too much to take a look at here in Viru. Looks like we could be breaking below the 9 EMA. My NVDA giving me a little bit of a heart attack, so I'm going to deal with her in a moment.
Yeah, I can take over.
Thank you.
INMD. Thank you, Amir, for pointing this out to me. I'm not sure exactly what you're seeing on this, Amir, but small cap gapper. Oh, well, it's not really a small capper, to be fair. It is a $1.5 billion market cap. In Mode is the company. There's the ticker. What's the deal with this one, Amir? I haven't seen too much on this. Shareholders lost money. INMD. Nothing from today, or is there? Hold on. Oh, here it is. Okay, so it was a revenue miss. Okay. Down pre-market after company decreases full year 2024 revenue guidance. Okay, so down 7.83%, nothing to sneeze at here. Funny enough, though, this one actually went green to red at the open. Popped up there off 1790 or wherever it was hanging out in the pre, popped up all the way into 1940, which is HOD. Now it is well below the volume weighted average price and doing a bit of a consolidative move here, Amir, at 18.14, excuse me. That seems to be the low, and the range is super tight now. It's about 30 pennies or so. So I'm gonna have to decline trading INMD, but we shall see what if anything else pops up with this one. Please let me know. Now, Apple, I have a dip trade at 168.55 on AAPL. But it was on the pretense that this was going to be a range trade. Well, it just broke above the range. The range essentially was 168.90 to the north side, 168.60 to the south side. And it's really appropriate. It's apropos that I'm trying to trade ranges here, which I never do. In the week, we're talking about range trading, and that was not by design, let me tell you. But the point of why I'm pointing this out is because now it's broken through that top, that 168.90 top. So now Apple starting to do what the NOS boss calls the smiley face, the rounded bottom. It's not very rounded at the moment. It hasn't broken above 169 either. But I'm just seeing a bit of it's diverting a little bit away from the range. That's the observation I'm making here. So we'll keep tabs on AAPL, see what this one wants to do the rest of the afternoon. Funny enough, Big Danny Ives of Wedbush came out today and yet again doubled down on Apple. He said there's a lot of headwinds, but Wedbush reiterated their outperform and their 250 price target on AAPL. And I didn't really see anything from Apple. I want to see what they're going to say on the earnings call at the end of this month, and then we're all looking for that June date, WWDC Worldwide Developer Conference there for the big AI announcement. I just think they might front load that for the earnings call because their stock has been beat up this year, and they should care, right? Because it's very much it's in like almost every 401k probably. So people,
that's a good point.
Yeah, they follow this. It's not just investors, institutional investors that care about this stuff. It's others anyway. So we'll keep eyes on that. What else we got over here? INTC, hold on. Patty Gelsinger was supposed to get on the mic. Katina Mannion, he is, and it just did pop up Adara, so that's why people are talking about INTC there in the chat. Chilean Nightmare, if we could put up this one, thank you. Big spike up there right now on big volume on Intel, and the volume is still coming in as we speak. It was dancing below the volume weighted average price at 36 2/3. It just popped up into 38 1/4. Retracing now though, coming back into that 37, just below 38, 37.85 or thereabouts. Let's see if this one can hang out near its highs. Okay, here's the headline. Intel unleashes enterprise AI with Gaudi 3. I don't know what the hell this Gaudi 3 is. AI open system strategy and new customer wins. Intel goes all in on open and more secure enterprise AI with new customers, partners, and collaborations across AI continuum. Oh, continuum. Okay, whatever the hell that means. In any event, we're going to keep eyes on Intel as we know that Big Patty G, and I'm not talking about Big Patty Ice, I'm talking about Big Patty G. He's probably dropping hot lines on the mic right now.
Yeah, go Patty Gelsinger, go Patty G. It seems like he's had they had those foundry losses, so I think certainly Intel has a lot to prove right now. So hopefully Big Patty G, not to be confused with Big Patty Ice, gets on the mic and gives some investors some confidence there because they do certainly Intel has some stuff to prove. They did appoint specifically a CFO for the foundry, so hopefully they get some of those losses under control. Also, yeah, I want to
Don't worry, the government will cover them. Don't worry about that. Unlimited amount of money coming from the government.
See, that's sarcasm I got because I know this is part of an ongoing beef, a Sharif beef.
Sharif and Neil beef.
Yeah, Sharif and Neil
Obviously,
beef.
all in good fun.
Yeah, no,
I actually
course,
like Intel, guys. When I say this, I'm just trolling Neil.
Yeah, it's just good-natured trolling.
Yeah.
As we do here.
Yes.
But yes. So this NVDA getting really spicy at this 840 area. I ended up getting out of this. I was not proud of how I managed the long, but then I was like, Adara, if we're failing this 840, just switch it up. So I got out 840. We got out basically flat of the long. I flipped short. So I'm going to try to be patient here, which is not my strong suit. I often do not pack my patience. It looks like, maybe my patience gets lost in luggage or whatever, lost on the plane or in the hotel. Very bad at packing my patience. But we are going to be trying to be patient here. This 840 was clear support earlier. It was resistance and support. We've been flipping like mad here, this 840 level. So I'm going to watch what we do. I'm going to give this to 842 because that was, I think, a little bit of a deciding point earlier. So, and again, I'm only getting back involved in this because I have been watching this name like a hawk today. This has been pretty much, I think, the only name I've traded. So this is, I am familiar with the levels that it likes. I'm going to be cognizant of those levels. I do want to add a little bit to this position just below, before this 841 area here. So let's see what we can do. We're going to try to add at 89s, and then I want to be starting to take this out at around 837s and then save a piece for the dream of the 836. So really what I'm trying to do is be cognizant of this little candle we had in the 1 minute, see what it does there. Be patient, breathe, be zen, be one with the trade, be like water, as Obi has said. So I do like that we got into 841 and rejected. That makes me pleased as punch. So let's keep doing the thing, NVDA. Do your thing, 21, or I guess 841 in this case, NVIDIA. So there we go. I like this. We're going to start getting these beak waters ready to go here on the NVDA, trying to be patient and combine, you know, the ranges, because I'm getting involved because I'm seeing levels and ranges I like, but then also I'm trying to be a little bit more patient in terms of staying in a little bit longer and letting the trade breathe, which I'm not very bad at. Often I'm kind of just like trying to grasp, like, you know, take the life out of any trade. Like I want to be in and out. We're trying to let these trades breathe a little bit more and be a little bit diverse with my trading style. I believe earlier, I think it was 1230 Wolf asking if there's any ranges I like. Honestly, not much. I've mostly been playing those NVDA levels, but this Microsoft isn't a bad look. This is on the 1 minute. You do have that support around this 422.80, and you have that resistance around that 423.50. I also like this because look at this chop and churn we had at 423.50 earlier. So I think this is a nice look. Then if I were to get involved, I would probably, you don't want to give this $1 though with Microsoft because the range itself is not really $1. And that's the hard thing. I wouldn't really know where to have the stop loss on this. I think rationally, I do like on the chart, this area that we had, this chop and churn around this 424.50, but you don't want to give $1 of risk for a trade that it's only about a 70-cent range, right? We did talk about that yesterday. So something I want to be cognizant of. Also trying to be cognizant of that NVDA. Let me see what we do at 842. I may have to divorce myself from this name today. Like I mentioned this before too, I have a really bad habit, especially because I start trading at the midday and I trade for about 3 hours. Whatever trade I start trading, I'm like, this is my trade. Pikachu, I choose you. And it's like, no, Adara, you could trade other stocks, right? So trying to find some other stocks today. I have been a little bit too stuck with NVDA, so I'm gonna have to see what happens here on this day. Also, Microsoft just popped out of this range. So.
Well, they're all popping, Adara. Apple's popping. Amazon is popping now. Google. The Katina man is long Amazon. So take note, if you're following along with Sean's trades, he's long Amazon. Great, nice support there at that 185. You can see that quite clearly. The low on the day there is 184.89, but there was a lot of fighting. You could tell here between buyers and sellers at this 185 area, a bit of a tug of war going on. Looks like the buyers are winning out for the moment as we pop into close to that $0.50, 184.50. Hit it, Katina man. There he is. Is that new? Oh, is that a cow or a bull? Oh, okay. Well, you can't blame me. He's got white spots on there, so whatever. Julian Nightmare is like, yo, get it together, bro. No, but for real though, nice double bottom here on AMZN, popping into past 50, went into that 185, high 50s there. But what I'm looking at is AAPL. Reason is, there's the rounded bottom we were talking about, and there's the 169 break. However, caveat, however, look at that holdup right at the volume-weighted average price. So let's not start singing, you know, and start counting our money too quickly here, right? We want to see if this one can break above and hold above the volume-weighted average price. Part of the lesson today is we're talking about fake outs, fake breakouts, or false breakouts, right? And so that's, you know, it'd be how appropriate would it be to actually get caught in one of those on the day that you're teaching it. So let's see exactly whether or not it can hold above 169, and then next, more specifically, to break above the volume-weighted average price, which right now on my chart is hanging out the 169 high teens. But nice rounded bottom there. For whatever reason, there was a buyer at 168.60 today on AAPL. Funny enough, that wasn't a level that I charted. In fact, it was at 168 mid-40s. That was the closing print from yesterday. And if you asked me before the show, would it be 168.60 or 168.50 or 40, I would have told you obviously the latter as opposed to the former. But there we go. Holding above 169 for now on Apple. Let's see if this one can continue its strength into the afternoon. There goes Meta into 513 territory, making me feel a little bit silly for having... I know, bro. I didn't hold it long enough. The Katina man is upset as well. It looks like he had that bad boy long as well at the bottom there. 513.50 and 514 incoming. Whoever took that trade earlier in the chat, and I told you, I think it was Max Sarama. I told you 511 was my line in the sand, and then look at this. I mean, I'm not making this up. Look at this candle over here. The low on that is 511.12. So the reason I had that 511 is not just out of nowhere. That was the low. That was the bottom. Let me flip back to my meta trade over here. So if I got in over here, right, with the idea that it was going to continue its pattern of higher highs and higher lows, well, then what would cause me to say, that's no longer a valid trade? Well, if it put in a newer low, right? Because I'm looking for higher highs and higher lows. How can that be the pattern if I get a newer low? And that newer low was going to come vis-a-vis a 511 break. And that's why I told you that. It wasn't just out of nowhere. This one is continuing to pump, though. Let's see if it can take 514. A bit of a top here, a local top for whatever reason, in that 513 3/4 area. Let's see if that 514 can break it down.
Yeah, I think, you know what, we're going to leave NVIDIA be unless I see this 844 rejection. We're going to, you know, she's going to, out of sight, out of mind, still on my side chart, but we're going to, you know, leave her be. And I think the issue was, I think I tried the patience thing, and it's like, Adara, you're a scalper at heart. It doesn't work for you. It's cool. I think I was giving these things a little bit too much room to run in the name of patience. So I had the plan, but the plans just weren't well executed. I'm not going to wax poetic about it. All I will say is I think this was a good lesson that we will go back to the drawing board. And the drawing board is scalping. So there we go. We tried a thing. Didn't work. Let's go. Good times. I sound like a sitcom character there. But yeah, AMD, I was talking about this level earlier, this 169-esque area. What's life without whimsy, as Sharif might say. But yeah, this 169 area, really interesting, I think, for me, for AMD. We've rejected it. We had support, then we rejected. It also happens to be around VWAP. So if AMD says no, no, no to this 169 area, once again, guess who's going to press short? It's me. The one thing I want to be cognizant of, too, though, is we have these higher lows. So it could be priming for a burst above this this VWAP, which I would not love. That would, of course, not make me please as punch if I'm in the short. But then what I would probably do is take out some profit at this 168.60 because that was that area. A, we had a little bit of chop and churn in this earlier moves around this area. And B, it happens to be almost in perfect confluence here with the 9 EMA. So there we go. Shout out to Obi, shout out to Confluence, and shout out to AMD maybe rejecting again. You
know what I forgot to mention yesterday?
What did you forget to mention?
That I binged watched The Crown on the flight back, and I'm addicted.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not the
No, the first season. First season only. Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, I got an affinity for that country. I studied there.
True.
I support Arsenal. I have an English car. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I like England. I like England. That's true.
I didn't think that makes so much more sense.
Have you watched it? The Crown?
I've seen like clips.
Yeah? Have you never watched a full episode?
Not a full episode. Okay. Is it worth it?
Yeah, I like it. Are you pro or con? Maybe I shouldn't ask you. Well, what are your feelings about Canada staying with the monarchy? I
should have more opinions about it than I do.
Okay, so well, as long as you don't have an adverse look at it, I think you'll enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah, the people who didn't like it were the people who were like get rid of the monarchy.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I think like I said, I should probably have more of an opinion on it.
It's a good show. Either way, I like how it shows like a whole behind the scenes of like how the royal family worked. I liked it.
Cool. That's
yeah,
really
it was interesting. It was interesting. And I haven't really binge watched anything other than like Young Sheldon. Which, I mean, obviously they're not the same category.
Well, that's why I was so surprised.
At all.
But when you said the British thing, that made like, I was like, oh, of course. What's your favorite British show then?
Oh, I know you like...
I love my British shows.
Okay, so there was EastEnders when I was in England. EastEnders was huge, right? It's like 2 decades old now. There was obviously Coronation Street. I don't know.
I love Coronation Street.
Do you like Coronation Street?
Oh my gosh, my parents watched it every Sunday when I was growing up.
No way.
Yeah, so I grew up on Coronation Street.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course, CBC.
Yep.
Say that again, Chile Nightmare? No, I can't hear you, brother. No? No?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
No.
IT Crowd.
IT Crowd. No, I haven't watched that. Is that Netflix? Channel 3. Oh, okay. It's a regular cable. Okay. Yeah. I'll add it to the list, baby.
O'Neill coming in with his own, are you being served? Yes, Minister. Those who I haven't heard of, but Faulty Towers and Monty Python.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Hold on. The Piper, it's fake. What do you mean? Like the show? Like the facts of the show,
Yeah, I've
Piper?
heard they take some liberties with it.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. I get that. What I definitely think that they freestyled on is like the intimate relationship between some of the couples. How do you know what they were doing in there?
Yeah.
Like they show Prince Charles, not Prince Charles, Prince, what's the guy that was married to Philip, Prince Philip.
Oh, yeah.
And Queen Elizabeth fighting. How do you know what they were fighting about, bro? Like, anyway.
I love that. The Sharif Crown review.
Yeah. No, look, I finished season 1. I'm going to start season 2 today, so there it is. Guys, we're doing the dance with no pants on Apple with VWAP at the moment. That's 3 touches at the volume weighted average price, all of which have rejected so far. This is the level we were talking about Apple possibly, the roundy bottom that we were looking at, that we're joking obviously when we say that. But the whole idea was not to jump in willy-nilly to this trade just because we were getting sequence of higher lows and higher highs with that rounded bottom. I need to see a clear break of the volume-weighted average price, and then we could talk about maybe riding this one up into that 170 area. I think 170, if we make it back into 170 today, will be an interesting area of resistance. I think we reject 170 on the day. But, we'll have to wait and see. Right now, back down into 169, trying to hold that whole dollar level, whereas VWAP, where is VWAP on my chart over here? It's 169.16. So we're in a bit of a tight range right now. Let's see exactly what we do with the volume-weighted average price on Apple, but it's setting up at a nice technical level.
Yeah, also setting up pretty nicely here, maybe trying to make its first red candle of this massive move up here on the 5-minute is Intel. Hans was asking what's the news in Intel. Yeah, so we had Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of Intel, announcing here, just having some speeches. They also have an event announcing their Gaudi 3 AI open system strategy and new customers. So nice look there for INTC. This is a catalyst-driven move up. Also, I think it was for LAT, that name that I can't say in the chat, but with lots of letters and the number 4, saying that Gaudi actually has some interesting implications for I think the medical field. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that comment was really interesting. So I think that's a very cool look. We are though seeing maybe a little bit of issues with this 3840 area, forming our first red candle in what has been a nice sea of green here on INTC. I want to check the daily to see what levels we might be running up against on I to the N to the T to the C. Oof, talk about, this is interesting. This was a range breakdown we had on the daily with this nice little support of that 41, just shy of 42 level, lower high, huadunk to the downside. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to kind of see what we do here. I think the clearest area to me, although this would be a little bit ambitious perhaps for Intel to do today, would be this 41 area because, or 41, 42 area, the base of that previous range. To me, that could be a bit interesting, especially because that level we did hang out with earlier as well. So I think to me, INTC getting that 41 area could be great. But right now, I mean, we're up just under 1% of the day, and we're around, now up about 1% of the day, and we're below 38.40. So I think first we have to clip 38.40, then let's see what we do.
That's a hell of a hammer candle. It's for
that
is
a nice
daily?
Yeah, this is
Oh, that's going to be nice if that closes that way or that shape.
Yeah,
we could have a nice run up in Intel, especially after how many red days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red days in a row. Okay, and that's a big pullback too. Yeah, Intel might be interesting the next few days, guys, if it can hold up here. Neil, are you in Intel at the moment? He's long at 38.22? 38.22. Neil is long Intel 38.22, guys. If you're following along with Neil's trades, just want to update you there. Big Nimit. What's up, my man? You will love IT Crowd. It has the best British humor also. Love me some British humor, baby. Thank you to the Chilean Nightmare and Nimit for the suggestions. Appreciate you both. Nimit says, have you seen Goodness Gracious Me? Check, please. If you have seen it, you will get the joke. I haven't, but maybe I will watch it just so I can know what you're talking about. Thanks for the suggestions, Nimit. Anurag, Adara, Sharif, any news on APLD? Tanking before earnings, down 10%. We'll look right now. APLD, Applied Digital. Let's see the Ds. The Ds here, 8.16 in the red. I'm looking. There's a couple of things from yesterday, and this is the reason. So apparently, they're expected to post a loss of around 7 cents a share according to Reuters, who dropped this little thing in here. Let's see what else. There was Applied Digital gears up for Q3 print, the most accurate analysis, revised forecast ahead of the earnings call. So it looks as if they're expected to miss here on Anurag. And as a result, that's precipitated a bit of a down move on the day, 8% like I said, but we're only $2.87. Anyway, I gotta digress from that because Intel is really going here. There goes the break of the $0.50 on INTC, made its way up into 58s. Good move here for Patty G and company as they look at, what was it called? Gaudi? Gaudi, who knows? Yeah. Were they really? Okay.
Yeah, like, well, it's a gaudy looking thing.
Yeah. Right. We're responding to Fabian. We're not talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
There's no silent man in our head that we're talking to. He's in front of us. Shout out to the Chilean nightmare. Or maybe there is. Who knows? Apple is still rejecting, guys, off the volume-weighted average price. It keeps doing that move into VWAP and rejecting again and again and again. That's 4 candles on the 5-minute chart that have all rejected off VWAP. I'm waiting for a break and take. Otherwise, we'll look for a rejection and a move back down, maybe into low day at 168.50 or thereabouts. Let's see what Apple does, Adara.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of interested in what Apple does here. Someone was asking here, I think Todd in the chat asking what's the VWAP on Apple. My chart I'm seeing about 169.17, which is where we're at now. So I don't know if that's exact, but that's what I'm seeing right now. I want to see what we do here too, because if we keep rejecting here, I might take this short to the top of that previous range. But this is kind of a counter trend move, right? We did have that nice curl to the upside. We are up on the day about 0.4%. So let's see what happens here. I don't want to be too hasty on that one. Shout out to the Spice Girls. Also, I am involved in AMD, a stock that is actually higher than Apple right now. Apple's at like 169.17, AMD 169.35. So
feeding it up.
Yeah, AMD is like
Lisa.
AM dominating there in terms of stocks named with A that are big tech. So a little bit of roundabout there. But let's see what we do here on AMD. I got involved here. I was talking about that VWAP projection. Also, though, look at this candle, that 5-minute candle. Chef's kiss preceding this. She was just laughing at. Check out the Instagram, Trader TV Adara. I posted a story that might have been photobombed by a certain someone who is next to me here. Yeah, he says so. He claims. But you can check out for yourself, Trader TV Adara. But yeah, lots of social media. Shout out to our social media team. We're always filming stuff for that. So social media platforms. But also, I was keeping an eye on this level, as I mentioned, and I like this wick up here, up into 50s, and then buyer saying, no, nice. And then we closed lower. So I was like, you know what, Adara? There could be some potential here. Right now, AMD kind of doing nothing to confirm that. If we break decisively above this previous, and I chose this area A because it's around where we had these failed attempts here earlier. B, it's about the base of the pre-market, which is also interesting to me. And C, look at this little doji chop and churn we had here around 169.70. For those reasons, that is where I will be leaving the trade. If we break above that decisively, I'm out. Bye, bye, bye. I'm not in sync with AMD anymore. Bye, 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 bye. So I'll be waving bye, bye, bye to AMD if we break above that 169.70. So that gives me about 50 pennies. I'm trying to take at least 60 even with my first beak winner. So I feel very happy. Please just punch with the risk to reward ratio I've made for myself. Like I said, risk to reward has definitely been something I'm still working on, making sure the ratios make sense, especially with range trading. So there we go. That's the thesis with my AMD.
I'm looking at MDAI here. Shout out to Bob Curran, who, well, we had this one up already. We mentioned it, but I didn't have eyes on it. He brought it to my attention as we just broke through $5, 510 HOD on MDIA. It's up a cool 68.33%. Here it is at high day as we speak right now. This one has held very well. Essentially from 11 o'clock onwards. Since the start of the show, it's held the volume-weighted average price quite well. And there it goes. It tanked. Perfect. This is exactly what we wanted on this trade because I did not want to chase it. Let's go ahead and get a little bit in here. And my line is saying is going to be the break of the volume-weighted average price. Let's see what we get with MDIA. It's been decent here with its respect for the 10-period exponential moving average. And that 10-period is the green solid line denoted on my chart there. So you can see it's wicked, sure, below the green line a few times. It hasn't since 11:15. or with any decent vigor anyway, but the closing prints have all been north of that 10-period EMA. So if, you know, we get the $5 rejection now, do we get a nice bounce back up and then give 5 another shot here? So that's reason I'm getting into this, but my out is going to be the break of the volume weighted average price. We'll have to wait and see what we get here on MDIA, but long at the moment at 477, Adara.
Oh, I love that. That's a beautiful little entry point there. Just
Ooh, hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully we will all be pleased as punch with MDIA. Also, yeah, I mean, AMD, nothing to report here. What makes me extremely confident is we move into that area that I'm trying to leave, and then we reject about a cool 15 pennies. AMD, you want to keep doing that? You'll be in my good books there. No, I'm joking. It's a stock. It does not care about my feelings. But I'm just saying, I think it's nice, too, when you have a thesis and then a stock reacts in a way that respects that thesis. It gives you a little bit of confidence. You know what I mean? It does. It's not a hopium, but it certainly gives you an extra dose of a feel-goodery in your stock and in your position there. So I like that. I do appreciate those Scotty Beats saying NVIDIA getting 8 green 3-minute candles in a row. So that's something I want to be cognizant of. However, I think with the AMD, I am being cognizant of what NVIDIA is doing, but NVIDIA right now is actually kind of rejecting VWAP as far as I'm seeing. And AMD, to me, I did get involved in very specific technicals, but I do appreciate you putting that one out there for me, Scotty Beats. To me, this candle here in AMD has me pleased as punch. I do like this failed wick here. I should have added going to 169.70, but c'est la vie. Obla di, obla da, potato, tomato. I didn't add. So that's all we can kind of say to that one there. So let's see how we do here. I like that we're coming back here down into the 169.50 area. Let's keep going down to the downside. AMD, I do have a beak wetter set for the 168.60 area, so about 55 pennies. Then I'm saving a piece for the dream, and the dream is going to be ending here around this 168.20 area, because that was where we had a little bit of chop and turn earlier. And I want all the smoke. Not just some of it, all of it. Well, you
challenge that stock, Darren.
Yeah,
you tell who's in charge. I love it.
Dukes up there, stock.
All right.
But yeah, let's see. I want to take a quick look at, Apple. I should have taken that Apple short off the VWAP, but we might be recovering here. How are you doing over here?
I'm laughing at what Ponzi Fonzie's saying in the trade. Every day he's got a new car, right? What's the 1990 Mitsubishi Eclipse gold with 13-inch wheels trade? You know what I remember? The Dodge version of the Mitsubishi Eclipse. Did you guys have that in the States? Remember that, Neil? The Dodge Eclipse? Do you remember this? The Eclipse, it was on a Mitsubishi engine, but they just leased it for I think they just licensed it from Dodge. So I happen to love that car, dude. That was a bad car in the day. It was like one of the only turbocharged cars you could get back in the day, I think. Anyway, it had like 300 horsepower when no cars had 300 horsepower. So I'm all about that life, Pawns. Shout out to you. I don't know, maybe this MDAI trade off this area that I got in, I'd ideally like that. Right, we're long 477. I've got a beak wetter here, Fabian, at $4.95 to kind of test this earlier high. We'll see if this one holds up. It did pop up there ever so briefly into $4.88 or so. So we'll see if that trend continuation can continue to go. But I got to tell you, my line in the sand is going to be the making of a new low, and the trough that I have identified here as my low is this 455. So if it doesn't hold 455. I've got my stop already on the other side of that. Eagle Talon, that's it. Thank you, Heather. Yes, I'm going to pull it up. Heather, shout out to you. You know cars better than I do. Eagle Talon, there it is. Yes, this is it. Oh my God, this is it. Okay, so I'm going to show you. This is the Eagle Talon.
Nice.
Hold on. And then I'm going to show you the Mitsubishi Eclipse because they're identical. Right, and then they updated the Talon to look like this one. So this is the new. This was the newer one. This is like a 95 or something like that. This is super old. Now, if you do Mitsubishi Eclipse, we'll go like 1990 or whatever. Yeah, identical. Yeah, dude, but they are like. Can I do this? Oh, that's no good. Yeah, I know. I got rid of it there. I'm trying to find that other. Here it is. Okay. So if I can just set this up, I don't know, it's not letting me. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I'm trying to show it from the front. Let's see if I can get this here. This is the Eagle Talon TSI, and that's the one that was turbo, the all-wheel drive. And then if you look at the Eclipse, I'm just trying to show it from the same side, man.
I like the back on the Eclipse.
Yeah, see? This is the Eclipse, and that's the Talon. They're identical cars. right? Not only was the engine identical, but the body was identical too. So that's what I remember. But that's not relevant on a trading show, I don't think. So we'll go up. Oh, we got filled, baby. We got filled on MDIA. So let's see if this one can take 5, Adair.
Yeah, we also actually right now, we will be taking 5 because we have Neil here with his lesson of the day.
My bad.
So we will be hearing from him, and we will be back soon. Neil, Real Deal Neil, take it away.
Kill it.
I was confused.
Oh, he's got, he has to put on his mic. All right, so let's, yeah, the 3000 GT Fortune. You are reminding me of some stuff that was erased from my memory. The 3000 GT, wow, man, these cars and the, yeah, you were distracted by the car talk too, I know. I know. Well, it's Fonzie's fault, man. He's the one that's reminding me of all these sweet cars, man. Like every car now, I don't want to say every car, but a lot of cars are over 300 horsepower. If you were pushing 300 horsepower back then, dang, son, you were like in top 2%, top 5% of power on cars. Now we're good. Okay, so Neil's ready. Let's throw it over to Neil's lesson of the day.
We are now ready for the lesson of the day. After getting a little sidetracked with some car talk here, let's talk about the markets. Like, when are you supposed to put it into reverse in your trade and flip the script? Like, we often talk about the trend being your friend. So when is a pullback a reason to buy the dip? Or when is, if it's trending down, a pop to the upside, a reason to short the pop? Or maybe you've hit that top or bottom and you want to reverse the trade. If every single turn or consolidation in a chart is a reversal point for you, you're just going to get shaken out of trades. However, there are certain times where no matter how strong a trend is or how great the trend is or the winner that you had in a certain direction, there are moments where you've got to look to go the other way. And it's a tough thing to do because the easier style of trade is to need a lot of confluence and a lot of reasons to jump away from that trend. I get it. We say it all the time. The trend is your friend to the end when it bends. But there are certain situations that you've just got to be willing to pull a reversal. The first one is going to be very obvious, and I think it's the most important. No matter how strong your move is, and I'm going to pull up Intel here, and this is the reason I'm doing the lesson, is because of what happened on Intel today. Right, Intel two-day event, which you know is going to have some news when there is a fundamental change in the stock. And I'm talking about a big news event, something hitting the wire. It could be planned, it could be unplanned. Then whatever the trend that you have going into it, you've got to be willing to look for a reversal. Because I'm coming to the chart here on Intel to obviously show you how ridiculous this stair step to the down is the last few days. So if you can't tell this has been a trend down in a short the last few days, A, you haven't been watching the live show, and B, you haven't been looking at how easy it is to short this stock. Your short consolidations, your short flat bottom breaks, your short flat bottom breaks, your short consolidation. It just, they're all working. Short it off the previous high, short the breakdown. So what do you do today? It's the same thing. Just go into the exact same trade that you've been doing every single day until it stops working, right? If you go 4 for 5, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. You short it off this 38 level, it flushes to the 37.5. You short the lower high off of the previous low, and I'm not making this scaled because I don't want to spoil what happens here. But you're trend down, you're shorting the bottom, you're shorting the lower high pop, everything is cruising. It's 38 short, it's in 37.80, right into that double bottom. If you get another lower high, you're probably looking at a flat bottom break. You're holding on to a piece for the dream. But remember what I said. You have the CEO speaking at an event. So in the back of your mind, I mean, I hold some for the dream, but I'm going to have a trailing stop that can trigger for that last 5% or 10%, whatever you guys like to do, whatever kind of a small core you're holding for the bigger move. Once I see anything come out of, and it happened to be, their Gaudi, their Gaudi announcement, and it doesn't matter what it is. It's more important what happens volume-wise. So once you see a volume spike like this, which will be more volume than it had done at all up until that point, it'll be the biggest non-closing candle volume in the entire week as well. This is where you've got to be thinking about. You don't have to go into a reverse, but at that point, I'm looking for where I am not thinking short anymore and looking for the long. So I happened to have an in and out flat in there because I had left an order, but I had my stop in there, thankfully. That's why you have a stop. But once this got back above that 38, it's like, okay, you're going to show me the volume. That's one reason. Now, that's enough to get out. And it's just not enough to get out of a trade and say, well, it's an automatic reverse at wherever my stop happened to be in the morning. I don't think it's that simple. But I think what you're looking for that volume. It's an extraordinary amount of volume. In this particular case, you don't have to necessarily dissect the news. You knew they were at an event, and it's very easy to see volume-wise, and in terms of the fact that they were doing a presentation, you could get some confluence here because it's ongoing. So once you're through that previous close in the 38, that's where I'm looking for the long, and you might get in a little bit. And then from that point on, my question would be, okay, if you look at that strategy, at what point are people really working that short in the most fear danger? Well, the thing that's been working the best outside of the flat bottom break has been the short into previous resistance. And it's not been breaking these previous levels. Like, it'll go lower high in there, and then it'll consolidate higher, but it just doesn't quite break that hump from the day before. So when it does that, that's the spot to really like the reversal. And I was saying this sort of the live, like, where do you like it? Where do you like it? Well, the 38's a nibble spot. But once it gets above that pre-market top and starts blowing it out, that's where you look for that reversal long. And I know what everyone's going to say looking at this chart, but you would have made more money if you're long in here. I understand that. And if you were playing off the pre-market levels, certainly down in here, it makes some sense. Like, that's where, like, to me, like, the reload and the stop is, like, right in there. But I don't think that's necessarily the way to go. It's okay to be later, to have more confluence, to have more confidence in the trade as well. I'd rather be in a trade that I can put on that fits my risk to reward than try to be early and not have a solid out. Because if I take it in here in front of resistance on the way up and it fails this top, my out, if I'm trading it the way I would normally think, my out's not till like 37.60. But if you take it off the 25 level, suddenly you've got a nice little stop area right underneath that previous opening range top at like 38.05 to 38.10. You're risking only about 15 cents as opposed to trying to risk 40 on Intel. And if you're risking 40 pennies on Intel, that's a whole 1% move. I don't know if I ever want to be doing that on INTC. So you wait for a little bit more confluence, knowing that the volume's good, the continuation is there, and then there's your breakout. Now, obviously, not every single reversal is going to be all about news. We see it all the time. If you're a trader or you're any kind of an active trader, you're going to see these moves. We bottom out in the middle of the day, or a strong stock reverses and all the floodgates come down. And the other one I want to look at is sometimes you get a move in the market that can be driven by a bellwether or a set of bellwether stocks. And one of the things that I like to look at, I'm going to talk about when NVIDIA turned and flipped the script here. Because there were names that were super strong, that were looking like good longs. I'll use the example of like an Alphabet. Like, Alphabet was stair-step to the upside. And if you look at NVIDIA, like right here when it broke at 1027, this is NVIDIA breaking to the downside. Have a quick look-see at 1027, what ends up happening on Google. If you went stair-step up, the key level to dip by was 157, you bought the dip, that's the lower high, it's all good. When it looks like that's going to be support, NVIDIA is taking 850. So you've got the AI runner name, NVIDIA taking 850, SMCI also happened to break 900 at the same moment. A key bellwether stock absolutely flushed through an important level. Now, at that moment, one of the more bullish stocks in the market, which was stair-step up, like a Google, it lost its higher low support and made a run for the bottom. Now, this is an example where I didn't go short. I elected to scalp my long and have a tight stop out of it. But if you see that kind of a move, now obviously shooting NVIDIA is a better trade, as we showed there. But I'm looking at where you would reverse or at least not load back into that long in that moment. Because if you were following things, the NASDAQ was trying to hold up, and it's difficult for it to do it. And today it happened to be NVIDIA. But some days it's an Apple or a Microsoft takes out a key level right when things are on the precipice, and you've got one of the big market leaders that just cannot hold its bid and then does a move down like that. Suddenly something like Google, which was a long, puts in a consolidation short right into some fresh lows. And it might bounce a little bit later, but if you're not at least thinking about reversals, the minimum you can do when these things happen, ooh, that's interesting VWAP for NVIDIA there. The minimum you can do is at least cover your longs in that situation like that. It's not the easiest trade in the world to have a bias in one direction on a stock and then flip the script halfway through the day when you've been making all your money in that direction. And I understand that. There are times that you are going to want to do this. The first step should always be identifying what it would take to get you out of the trend. That's your first step. The second step would be, hey, is there actually a reason why I should jump and go in the other direction? Now, something like NVIDIA here, I think, can be a massive move, and it wasn't just this. There was a little bit of confluence here with Meta taking out a consolidation bottom, and you see what I'm getting at. You had some major NASDAQ names all breaking the floodgates at the same time, and then suddenly a stock like Google, which was making higher lows, that's the moment that I think you wanted to flip the script. It's easy enough to say the stock that was trending down, you can add to it. It's not that difficult to see how weak that was or how weak the NVIDIA was. But if you can add this one to your toolbox, like I said, in Google, all I did was not reload the long and wait for the next level down. But that could have been a short. And this is why I'll show you one that works that we did do on Intel, and I'll show you one where I didn't do it. And I made money long, but you can see here, it's like long scalp out. Long scalp, but then out. Long scalp, and okay, it worked out here to the long side. But really, if you were just short from there and shorting until it got to yesterday's levels, the reversal would have been a little bit more efficient. And the reason for it is because of that big turn you saw on some bellwether names. So it's not just about following the future sometimes. If you see a trend looking like it's about to abate, have a quick look-see at some key stocks. It's easy when NVIDIA is flying around and leading the market, but that's not always going to be the case. So the first step is if it's new-based or fundamental-based. That's an easy reason to look for turn. Look for volume, look for key price levels, look for key support and resistance to get taken in another direction. The other thing I want you guys to look for, whether it's worthy of a reverse or not, is if you have a trending stock, which is usually going to have a good beta with the market, and then some other bellwethers break it down. So I'm talking about the tech leaders reversing and taking out key support, and then even a strong name like an Apple or Google is a solid reverse in that heat of the moment. So that's your lesson of the day. It's not always a situation that you get out of a trade and you want to flip it in the other direction, but there are times that you're going to want to be able to do it and put that into your toolbox. That's the real deal.
Thank you very much, Neil. Eloquent, informative, and awesome as always. While Neil was dropping hot lines on his lesson of the day, Boeing tanked big, 180-150. That's where the price was, Chilean Nightmare. And then it went all the way down into 177.80. This is as a result of midday headlines that came out, and I had them a second ago. Just give me a second. I'll find them again. Here they are. So it had to do with a couple of things. First and foremost, FAA investigates claims by Boeing whistleblower about flaws in the 787 Dreamliner. We haven't had issues, no issues with the 787. It's been the 737 that's been the culprit of all these problems. Now, can you imagine if they have issues with their 787 platform? That's going to be a whole another can of worms. FAA said to be investigating that right now. That's vis-a-vis Reuters. In addition to that, they did release their first quarter delivery drama. Looks as if, maybe the deliveries weren't up to snuff. I haven't had a chance to read this whole article, full disclosure. In addition to that, Airbus decided to add insult to injuries, releasing its deliveries number there. It looks like they delivered about 142 jets in the first quarter of 2024. So that's precipitated a down move here in Boeing. Let's move back to Boeing. And Boeing is still going down, guys. Here we go, 177 incoming. We were just talking about 178 and change. Now we're talking about 177 whole dollar. So Boeing on the way down, now down 2.5%, looking to go a bit more here. Midday moves here on Boeing. Shout out to the individual there. I'll get it in a second. It was Brad, I think. Brad Gober, I believe. Let me just, yes, Brad Gober. Thank you for alerting me to that. Midday there, a shout out to you. And shout out to everybody in the chat who helps keep eyes on stuff when we can't keep eyes on it. So Boeing in some trouble here. Keep your eyes on that. If you're short inclined, it looks like it might be setting up nice. Now, I'll go back into my MDAI trade. Still holding this bad boy, waiting for 5 break. My line is already drawn in the sand. We've already wet our beak there at $4.95. This breaks. I've moved up my stop now to the break of $4.70. So we're going to risk 7 pennies there. We've already made about 20. Let's see what else we got. Intel, nice rejection there off 38.5. I know Neil was covering that, but we're looking at this because it did hold 38. So came down to 38.05, 38.06, and now we're getting a bump back into that 20 penny-ish area, 38 and 20-ish area. So keep your eyes on INTC. And then I had one more thing to cover here. I think Adara is going to cover the Apple trade, though.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so Sharif and I were talking about this, or Sharif actually said this, and I agreed. He's like, Apple's going from one range to another range. It's just ranging. It's like little migrating ranges. Yeah. We had our first little range set up beautifully at 168.60 to 168.80. Then we pop up about 10. Actually, even in our transition between ranges, we range some more. I want to point that out because that's pretty funny. We have this 168 to 160 to 168.80 range. Then we range a little bit in between 168.80 and 168.90 before forming the bottom of our new range, which is 168.90 to 169.20. This is the range that I'm trying to take advantage of. We got involved here at 169. We added at 169, 168. 95, 94-esque, and we're trying to piece this off as we get to the acme of this range, the peak, the top of the hill, the 169.20. I don't know why I'm saying this in such like an announcer voice, but I do like what we're doing. If we break below here decisively into this 168.80, that will have to be where I go and cut off the trade, because that would be the bottom of the new range, which is not what we want. I mean, I'm cool with Apple making a new range, but don't do it without me getting involved, Apple. Don't take off without me, please and thank you. Also, I wanted really quickly before we get into the lesson talk about this Tesla trade. Pleased as dang punch right now to use a Sharifism. Lower highs, lower lows. The one thing that kind of concerns me is this little bowl shape we have. We do have this curl to the upside, but I watched a couple times. We're struggling with this 175.50, and I was saying earlier this 176.50 was a really intense area for Tesla. And I was like, a lot of these lines, you know, I draw these lines, these are just previous areas, and I'm like, a lot of times they do come to fruition. So I do owe it to myself to check up and see how the stock's doing at these levels. In this case, we had this rejection. I said, Adara, you owe it to yourself to get involved. I liked that I was gonna say add some at 176. We couldn't even get to 176. I said, Adara, take your 170, 575 and be pleased as punch. So I did. Let's see what we do. Trying to take some profit out. I have enough for 3 beak wetters. So we're gonna take out some at 175, some at this 174.70 area, saving a piece of the dream for 174.50. There we go.
Adara, I want to point out something to everybody here. Every single Mag 7 name is rejecting at the volume weighted average price right now. There's no exceptions. Meta at VWAP rejecting. Amazon just rejected VWAP. Apple's been rejecting VWAP essentially since 11:30. Softy just got into the volume weighted average price rejected. Google, goggles, as the one that Knob calls it, just rejected volume weighted average price. Likewise with Tesla, and even the monster, the king of them all, NVDA, at VWAP right now, trying to take VWAP, but not doing it on a closing basis. And let's throw in the NASDAQ into that equation as well at VWAP. So everything right now is at the volume weighted average price. And by everything, I'm talking about the Mag 7 names. Now, what we do with that, an entirely different story. Now, I'm kind of disappointed in myself here because I had this meta trade earlier. We took it nicely for a winner, but I had my goal as VWAP. And why I got out, I was yelling to Adara while Neil was dropping hot lines on his lesson of the day. I was complaining to her about where I got out and the fact that I knew that this is where my stop should have been, and I didn't put my stop there. So I'm disappointed with myself for not having followed through with my plan, especially in light of the fact that it did make it up to VWAP. So that was a little bit frustrating on my part there. But Meta at the volume weighted average price, it also happens to be pivot point support level 1. Now, we've broken through all the support levels today on Meta because we were 525.87 HOD and we made our way down to 506.74 LOD. So that's a nice almost $20 move there on Meta. So we're well below the pivots, especially based on yesterday's very tight range. And if you understand pivot points, and if you don't, have a Google and look at them. Pivot points are based on 3 different data points from the previous day: the high, the low, and the close, and then you average up to 3, and then you chart a line here for the green dotted line. That's pivots, and then based on that, you're able to allocate your support and resistance levels. So pivot point 1 or support level 1 on pivots, intersecting with the volume weighted average price, maybe giving it a bit more credence. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out to everybody. All the Mag 7 names doing the dance right now with the volume weighted average price. Why brothers asking me why specifically that's happening? Look, you know, your guess probably as good as mine. My assumption is we're going to continue to be in this kind of wishy-washy, undecided range on Mag 7, on the future. That is until obviously tomorrow comes out, and tomorrow we get that CPI print. Now let me go on a little bit of a tangent here. The issue with the higher prints that we got so far this year, I'm talking about the January print and I'm talking about the February print. A lot has been made about some possible seasonality finding their way into those numbers and having this artificial inflationary effect on them. That cannot be the case, everyone is saying, for the March numbers. So if you were of the camp that, you know, looked at those 2 numbers, February and January, as outliers, you can't be in that camp anymore if tomorrow's print comes out high, because there's no more trickle in from the seasonality into these numbers anymore. You're going to have to face the music tomorrow, whether that's good or bad. So that's my assumption as to why we're kind of in this area of indecision on these markets and on the future. I think tomorrow we get direction one way or another there, whether good or bad.
Yeah, because I know that was the big thing that Jay Powell was saying when he was dropping hot lines, to use how Sharif will often refer to that.
Love it.
And in the Q&A, he was like, yeah, well, you know, like there's a lot of seasonality. Sharif was just alluding to, right? That was his big thing: seasonality, seasonality, seasonality. That was a lot of what was being said there. And so I think the fact that the market responded really well to that, I'm pretty sure at the time we did make it to new, at the time, all-time highs on the SPY, if I remember correctly. That was like market was pumping. It was the Papa Powell pump. People were really into what he had to say, but a lot of it buoyed by that seasonality. So I think we could get into a bit of a pickle because, as Sharif just pointed out there very astutely, we cannot be seasonal all the time.
No.
So there's going to be a point where Papa Powell is going to have to deal with that.
Face the music, baby.
Yeah.
Close the door. No, I'm kidding. Should we start the lesson?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, let's go for it. Guys, today we are talking about false breakouts and confirmation strategies. We are talking about range trading all week, hence why we are talking about the false breakouts today that could possibly happen in a range. Let me just pull up MDIA on my side chart here because I need to follow it while I'm trading. Oh, it's back at $5. Very nice, very nice. All right, let's get right to it. So today's lesson tackles a common enemy to us all, and especially if you're a range trader like Adair Panera. The false breakout. We'll learn how to identify these deceptive moves and employ confirmation strategies to enter winning trades with the confidence. Oh, my mom always says the confidence, and I don't know why.
I like that.
I'm like, Mom, it's not like a proper noun. It's not a noun.
Everyone, we need the confidence.
She's funny, Adair. Her
That's
English
adorable.
is funny.
That's
Anyway,
very sweet.
So imagine a price trapped between support and resistance levels, right? You got top side, you got a bottom side. A false breakout occurs when the price seemingly breaks above the resistance level, which we call a bull trap, or below the support, which we call a bear trap, right? Only to reverse and quickly return within the range. These false moves can inflict big losses on unsuspecting traders, me included. Here are a couple of examples. You get a couple of false breakouts initially on the top left. I'm looking at the top left image over here. You get a break here, you get a break there, you get a break another one, and then finally, the fourth time here was a charm where you actually got a closing print, not a wick, a closing print above that key resistance level. Conversely, The bottom right corner, excuse me, this is an example of a failed breakout in the Nifty 50, which are Indian stocks. You have multiple touches there at the bottom only to actually break out on a closing basis. Funny enough, though, it ends up turning around and actually breaks resistance. That can be very frustrating for traders and one that often happens a lot. So why do false breakouts happen? What are the mechanisms behind these things happening? Well, the first one is low volume, right? A weak breakout lacking a strong buying or selling pressure often leads basically to a false move. So one thing to keep your eye out on is that volume bar chart at the bottom of your chart. Keep your eye on that and try to see, is the breakout on above average volume? You're going to say to me, Sharif, how do I know it's above average volume? Look at the other volume bars, bro, or whoever, right? Keep looking at the older volume, but make an assessment with the volume bar currently on the breakout versus all the other volume bars that have preceded it, right? Is it above average? Are we doing, if it is above average, is it 1 time, 2 time, 3 time? Exactly, stuff like that. Keep your eye out on volume. And there's also stop loss hunting. Traders with positions near support or resistance might have stop loss orders placed just outside the range. So shorts will have it above resistance, longs will have it below support, right? A price spike, either higher or lower, depending on your case, can trigger these orders, creating false breakouts fueled by automated selling and buying, right? So everybody's stop is getting triggered there, and that could precipitate the move. And there's also market noise, guys, right? A lot of market noise. Random news events or short-term fluctuations can cause these temporary price spikes that don't actually reflect the true trend change, right? So we talked about CPI coming out tomorrow. Consumer Price Index could have a way of, getting Apple to pump through 170. But we know for a fact that at 170 now has been a bit of a local resistance level. So we get a break at 170, and then you know what? The CPI pump goes away the next day, and all of a sudden Wednesday, we're trading below 170 again. Or sorry, Thursday, we're trading below 170 again. I'm just giving you a random example. So these outlying like NFP, JOLTS, CPI, GDP, et cetera, these could all have a way of affecting the trend that may not last. And so how do you identify these false breakouts? Here are some techniques that we could use to spot a fake out, right? Look for price action. Look for weak follow through after the breakout. Does the price struggle to stay above that resistance in the case of a long or below support in the case of a short, right? Does it quickly fall back below resistance, move back up above support? What's the price doing? So keep an eye on it. If it's very directional and not wishy-washy, you probably have a better trade on your hands. And again, we're going to reiterate this. Volume. False breakouts often lack this significant volume compared with genuine breakouts. Low volume suggests a lack of conviction behind the price move, so make sure you're analyzing volume and keep your eye on candlestick patterns. Adair, I gotta cover this. There, I got out. So I just saw this thing tank on the corner of my eye. It just came into VWAP, and then I had my stop on my stop trigger, so I'm very happy about that. But I do like this area over here at the volume weighted average price. I'm talking about MDA. Sorry I had to digress from the lesson for a bit, but I got to monitor this trade. I do like this entry over here at VWAP. I'm just undecided as to if I want to take it or not. So I'm going to pack my patience. I don't want to make any rash decisions. Okay? So let's go back, into the lesson. I apologize for digressing there. Just had to make sure that it got stopped out. Where was I? Candlestick patterns. Yeah, Adara was astutely pointing out yesterday a bearish engulfing pattern, right? And if you don't know what that is, Google that quickly and you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. So price action reversal patterns like bearish engulfing patterns after a bullish breakout or vice versa can indicate a potential fake out. So you want to see that confirmatory candlestick pattern. Ideally, you may not always get it after the breakout or the breakdown has happened in order to kind of lend credence to your thesis or your hypothesis that this is going to be the direction of the trend. So look out for those confirmatory indicators. And here, speaking of that, great segue, here are some confirmation strategies that you can employ. So don't fall prey to the fake out. Here's how to confirm the breakout. The price close. I've talked to you guys about this before. A breakout is more credible if the price closes beyond that support or resistance level, again, if you're going long or short, on the daily or on the weekly, anything higher, a higher time frame. So you're looking for a closing print above resistance, below support on the closing time frame. And one of the methods that I always try to tell you guys to employ is that 3% rule or the 3-day rule. And again, John J. Murphy mentions this technique in his book, Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets. He basically posits the following rules. If it breaks and closes 3% above resistance or support, there's your confirmatory indicator. If it has 3 straight days of closing prints above resistance or below support, that is your confirmatory indicator. It's not a golden rule. It's one that he posits. Make of it what you will, okay? Volume spike. Again, we're going to mention this again. Look for a significant increase in volume accompanying the breakout. This suggests to you strong buying or selling pressure and interest amongst traders. And technical indicators couldn't agree with this more. Moving average crossovers above resistance. For example, when the 50 period moving average crosses above the 200, we call that the golden cross. Conversely, and that's bullish. Conversely, it's bearish when the 50 period crosses below the 200. We call that the death cross. Those are things that you can look at as well. You can also look at the relative strength index, RSI, for short. You can look for periods where the stock is trading in the overbought territory above 70 or the oversold territory below 30. It's not the way that I employ RSI, but some people do that. So look for your confirmatory indicators to help you, know whether you're on the right side of the trade or not. And remember, guys, patience is key. By waiting for confirmation before entering a trade, you can significantly reduce the risk of getting caught in a false breakout. I hope you guys kill it today.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, it's just like patience, waiting. Also, I also hope everyone kills it today.
Yeah.
That was a great send-off. We hope everyone kills it today. On the whole of Trader TV Live, we are always very much voting for that. Much like our pal Trend Ticker, Trading Turtle, we are down for trending tickers. And go everybody. But yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that's one thing, like I said, I'm still working on. You want to make sure that you have that confluence, that confirmation before getting into trades. And with that in mind, I actually want to talk about something that's actually ended up being kind of rangy, which is this AMD. So I got initially short AMD. One could argue way too early and one would be right, and that would be at that 169.20 area. I did have an impetus for this. We were rejecting the area a little bit. I liked it. We'd rejected it a couple times. I liked this candle, to me, which looked pretty bearish, and it actually had some strong volume as well, too, so I thought, ooh, there's some volume for the short side. There was not. We waffled a little bit. The plan was to get out by 169.70. If we broke it with a viciousness, we did. But then we rejected it again, and I said to Dara, you might want to get back in. And so then I did, but I waited. I was patient and I waited. I liked this candle. Look at this breakup into this 170. I was watching that 170 area because that was massive resistance earlier. We reject that 170. I say, Adara, short season's back on here in AMD. I don't know why I'm doing those eyebrows. Sorry for that. But yeah, so then I get involved. I add here. I was pretty proud, adding at that 169.80. Now we keep rejecting that 170. If we keep rejecting 170, I will stay in this short. We did say buy to AMD earlier. We weren't in sync, but it looks like we might be syncing back up here. Trying to take some profit as we get into the 50s and saving pieces for dreams, which will happen around VWAP. So that's the AM dirt and AMD right now. How is the MDIA?
Remember, that's the one that I had to actually cancel, but I did well on it, positive on it. I had very small piece left over here. Through the break of 460, my line in the sand was 470, but because it is a small cap gapper, I can't just assume that my price, say 469, is going to get filled, because there is typically areas of illiquidity when this thing starts tanking. It'll blow through multiple levels there on the level 2. So what I do in those cases is I create a bit of a spread between the triggering price on my stop and the limit price. And those are two different prices that you put in. One, the triggering price tells the computer, sell if the price drops below here. The limit price tells the computer, sell up to here. So if you say 469 is the triggering price, I'll give it to maybe like 465 or 464. So you give it a bit of a buffer there, because otherwise it may not get triggered. Now, the other way to do that is to use a market order. And then you're going to get printed wherever the wind blows you, you know? I mean, it just whatever price is in vogue on the market at the time. So that's typically, I try to avoid using market orders, but I know a lot of traders use them with good effect. Now, I want to move back into that Mag 7 analysis that we were doing earlier, where we were basically showing that everything seems to be moving into the volume-weighted average price and then either rejecting or just hanging out there. Apple, case in point. Look at this. I don't know how many wicks off the volume-weighted average price we can count here, but yeah, Apple is absolutely range-bound, whether earlier in the show, starting there at around 10:45 or so. Then it broke above that range at around 11:40, so about an hour there worth of range, and now it's got a new range that it's chilling with here with 169 and a quarter, 169 and maybe a fifth to the high side, essentially the volume-weighted average price, right? Meta is doing the exact same thing as well. Made its way up into VWAP and now is rejecting their 515.5 is VWAP. It's at 514.75 right now. Multiple touches, very, very narrow. Look at this price action here with Meta after having, well outsized price action now. Very narrow range. Again, below the volume-weighted average price. Again, Amazon, same thing. I mean, coming into VWAP as well. So for whatever reason, this is the look right now on the Mag 7 names. They are all at or below the volume-weighted average price. There is one exception, and it's not by a lot. It goes by the ticker NVDA. Who could have guessed that, right? 850 seems to be the resistance level for now, but it is also doing the dance here with the volume-weighted average price. So we'll keep eyes on NVIDIA. And by the way, for those who are interested in trading NVIDIA, I wasn't here last week, so I didn't get to mention it. There are these derivative products that you can trade. I'm talking about equities, NVDL, NVDS, and NVDX. If you don't want to trade an $850 name, don't feel like you're obliged to. You can trade its derivative, NVDL. And by derivatives, I'm not talking about options. I'm talking about other equities. And this is not an equity, it's an ETF, sorry. NVDL is the one that I use. It's about 38 some odd dollars, and it's a little bit easier to manage risk. So that is my look there. Let's flip to small caps and see what's popping off. Well, MDAI has given up the ghost. It's no longer tradable in my book, as it is now well below the volume-weighted average price. The one that continues to be tradable is one that has a very wide range per candle, and I don't want to trade this. And it's also shown its propensity not to respect VWAP. It goes by the ticker ACRV. ACRV is up 70% on the day, 70.25%. It's done about 26.5 million shares. The real move came there at 7 a.m. where it got off the schneid, I guess, off that $6 close yesterday, and really started moving up at the high of days, 11 bucks. This one seemed to really respect the 50 period earlier on. Let's say from essentially 9:30 on to 11:20. The dips into the 50 period, all of which were bought up. No closing prints below the 50 EMA. Now it's above VWAP, so now it's tradable. It's above the pre-market high there, so it did get above the pre-market high. So we're gonna have to figure out how to possibly get into this one. The only thing that concerns me is the range per candle. It's just too wide, and it makes it hard to play stops here or there. So I'm going to figure out, see if I can get myself into a trade on this one, and we'll see.
Yeah, that Akrivon's been like a weird little dude. He's been trying to figure out what's happening.
The Katina man he's peer pressuring me. He's like, do it. No peer pressure.
Peer pressure, peer pressure.
Now I have the Chile nightmare in my ear putting pressure on me as well. Shout out to the best team on the internet, baby.
What a team. Yeah, I mean, we have great times here every day. We always bring it to you live. Also, this Apple, I think Sean was also in this long. I think I saw that in the chat, so shout out to Sean. I've been playing this in my rangy little way. Sharif mentioned a range in that one, and we know every time a range happens in the market, my ears go, huh? So I've been playing this Apple range, really happy with this. We have now played it twice. The first time I got involved here at 169. We got into 168.90. I decided we're gonna add a little bit. I'm getting out if we break below 168.80. We didn't even get close. I was like, go Apple, do your thing, 21. Definitely a little bit of weak applesauce here, weak applesauce. As we get into that 169.20, as Sharif kind of alluded to. But the one thing too, I think Todd McLean in the chat was asking, what's the volume here on VWAP? Why aren't we breaking through? I would say here, these are my volume candles. I'll kind of zoom them in here. As Sharif might say, the volume has kind of been negligible. And as you can see here, we often are seeing these red, so that's net volume, these candles to the downside for the volume, where I think we're seeing a little bit of red outweighing here. So it looks like as we get to VWAP, from what I can tell, the red volume, the selling volume outweighs the buying volume is kind of my very elementary take on these candles that I'm seeing here. So let's see what happens here. We are making higher lows. This range got tighter. The second time I got involved in this range, we got involved 169.06. So it's getting, or 169.05 or something. The point I'm trying to make is we're getting tighter. Also, I didn't realize I still have 10 shares in this, so go Apple. We're going to take them out here, though, because that was, the plan was to take everything out where I initially took it out. So we're not going to stay. Also, okay, Apple, cool. Do your thing, 21. But yeah, I thought I was out of this trade. We're not. Plot twist. A reverse fat finger, skinny finger. I don't know. When you don't take out everything you want to take out. It's a really small position left though, so no sweat here. This range has still been consistent, so we're still going to wait for that 169.12 fill, because that was where we were trying to get out earlier. Also, let's look at Tesla. So Tesla, this is another range I had so much fun with. I was pleased as punch with what Tesla was doing here. As I said, I like drawing lines based on previous areas of support and resistance. This 176.50 was a massive level to me on Tesla. We bounced off of it beautifully. This was that 1 minute candle range that Sharif was talking about. And I also noticed here earlier, the base is 176.50. Look what forms as resistance, 176.50.
Unreal.
Right, it's crazy. Then VWAP, and also one of my earlier lines I drew around this 176 here, I'm like, hello? I get involved initially in the short. At this previous line, I drew 175.50. Of course, given how strong that 176.50 is, I decided, Dara, if we break above that area, this trade is kaput. You have to leave, et cetera, right? We don't break above. Initial plan was to add at 176. Once I realized we're not getting there, I say, Adara, adapt, react, redact, app. Shout out to Michael Scott from The Office. And I get involved. I add to this position at 175.75. Neil, also check out Neil's lesson of the day. He had a lesson of the day last week saying that the importance is to have a plan and stick with it, but also be willing to adapt it if you need to. That's what I did here. I decided I don't think we're going to get 176, but I still want more shares. So that's why I added where I did. Then we have room for 3 beak winners. We get out 175.40. This was based partially on levels that I liked in the chart. So look where we had that little chop and turn earlier, and also what I was seeing in the book, scalpulation. Then we get out some at 175. Now I will admit this was a fat finger. I was trying to punch in. I was like, do we get out 175? Do we get out 174.75? And my finger made the decision for me. And we got out 175. And all of the hubbub and the kerfuffle and the furor of my decision making, we accidentally punched out. But all good. We got out 175. So please just punch there. Tesla is, for me, Besla, because it's my strongest name of the day. So pretty proud of what I did with these. Nice. If these ranges, thank you, I appreciate that. If these ranges keep falling in, look at this earlier bottom. It's around the same area. We're curling back up here now. So Tesla, if you want to keep ranging, you've got a friend in me. I don't know why I made a Twister reference there. So we're going to have to see here if the story on Tesla continues to the upside. How are you doing?
I'm looking at Apple, Adara, because we're starting to inch a lot closer into VWAP over here. Now, you can't really see the VWAP all that well on this chart, but you can on this. So let's bring it in over here. In Apple, we were talking about VWAP being the top end of the range on AAPL. Now, it's obviously ranging, but here we go now. Now it's above 169. Whole dollar level, check. VWAP incoming, and it's been rejecting off the volume weighted average price since 1140. That's an hour and 10 minutes. Check. Now, what we're looking for, the last little check mark there, is to get a decent sized move on a closing basis above the volume weighted average price. And you're going to say to me, Sharif, well, look, man, if you wait for the close, you're missing the move. That is part of the whole move. That's part of the idea here. I'm willing to miss part of the move in order to kind of get the confirmation. So we're looking for the break and hold for Apple, pardon me, above the volume weighted average price. Now it's closed, a 5-minute look here, and here we go. Here comes the $0.25 on Apple. So it looks as if maybe that range is giving way. I don't want to speak too soon and make these pronouncements, but you know, it looks like it might be headed that way. And if it is, well, then we could see ourselves at 170. I still think that we use 170 as a resistance level on AAPL. That is until something fundamentally changes, whether macro or whether Apple specific. I think, you know, once we've given up the ghost at that $10 level, you end up using it from the opposite side rather than support. So keeping eyes on Apple here. I'm definitely interested in weaseling a trade here on Apple. I have to get the right setup. Now it could be a short because we're talking about false breakouts today in the lesson. I mean, it's just the fact of the matter is we could easily see another 5-minute candle close below VWAP. And so that's what we'll be looking for here. AAPL doing its thing. But yeah, this is a very, I don't want to call it a range-bound day, but essentially we've been hanging around 18.3 since last week. I mean, we closed off 18.3 on Friday. The Kashkari dip into 18,000 was bought up by Friday, and we closed at 18.3. And right now, we're at 18,284. You know what I mean? So we definitely need that CPI to come out to help reinvigorate the market in one way or another. Apple's now below the volume-weighted average price, and that was my concern. So we'll wait and see what we get there. Now, let's flip to some small cappers and see what's popping off there. MDAI is trying to hold MDIA, trying to hold that $4 area. It's not tradable for me. I don't care if it's at 4 or not. It's got to get above VWAP. Small cap gapper, that's the rule. Man, this ACRV is irking me. It looks really good, but I just can't manage risk on this that well. And that was a beautiful dip into the volume-weighted average price here on this hammer candle, and then a 5-minute candle to make a new high on a closing basis. That's kind of what you want to see. I think personally, the only trade I'm going to take on ACRV is a dip trade. I'm going to go ahead and put a dip trade at 10. If it comes down to 10 and triggers, then we're going to have to deal with that time. That is my next trade. I'm putting a dip trade out on ACRV at 10.
Yeah, Sharif's not saying, where's the next trade? He's saying, there's the next trade. So we will wish best of luck and happy trading there with Sharif on that. I am involved in NVDA again, but I want to talk about it because I'm really proud of how I decided to enter this. We were being calm. We're trying to be calmer trader. When I say we, I mean me. We're trying to be a calmer trader. That's something I sometimes struggle with. We're breathing. We're doing. Obi actually, in all seriousness, had a lot of really great things to say. If you check out last week, I think it was Friday, talking about his process in trading and also making sure he takes time to meditate and breathe and focus on himself before the trades and everything, and in the evening as well after trading. So I just think that was really valuable, and I learned a lot from that if you want to check that out last week. But also we broke below 846. So as per my trading plan, bye-bye, NVDA.
So what's going on there, Katina, man?
We're out of this trade now. We're just waiting for this to get filled. What's happening on with Sean?
He says something about AMD. He's printing on AMD, guys.
Nice.
He's short 170, so he's about 75 pennies in the money. Sorry to interrupt you, Adara.
It's okay. Yeah, I mean, it gave me time to extricate myself from NVDA. So yeah, shout out to Sean on that AMD short because I was. Yeah, okay. I should have been more patient with this. I got out because like I said, I was waiting. If I broke above that 170, I wasn't gonna like it. We did break above 170. I got out, and now we're back into where I initially entered the AMD short at 169.19. AMD and I have had quite the journey together. But yeah, congrats to Sean, killing it on that AM destroying AMD. So nice look at that. Also, we did get out of NVIDIA, and I want to explain why. It's not just because we had that sell-off, it's because we had that little baby sell-off there, and we broke below that area I liked. Oh, we're still on the AMD chart. On NVIDIA, I did like this little kind of base here for a range of that 846. We held it really well initially, and then we got that little move down, and NVIDIA flooshed. So I had to leave with it. I said, NVIDIA, you don't want me to stay? I'm not going to fight you.
Okay.
We got out, VDA.
We need to take a picture of this and add it to the lesson. I mean, look, this is exactly what we were talking about. We talked about the false breakout on Apple in real time, and look what it just did. Not only did it, flip off VWAP, but it gave the middle finger. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't say anything wrong, Katina, man. It gave the other hand to the whole dollar level, and it's on the way down again. So we'll keep eyes here on AAPL. It is putting in higher lows though, to be quite honest, right? So it based out at that 168.60. Then we had that another higher low at 168.83, and now we're putting in a low at the 50 period in the mid 90s. So we'll see. We'll see exactly what we get here on AAPL, but that is a false breakout there through the volume-weighted average price into that exactly. Actually, I think it went up that quarter. 169.25, exactly the high on this 5-minute candle. So we'll see exactly what Apple does here. Oh, this was a nice short off VWAP here. I think Callum Mitchell-Miller may have had that short off VWAP on META. What's going on over there, Katina Man? The Katina Man is $1 in the money now, baby, on AMD. So it may be midday, but that doesn't mean there's no profits being had. Very nice short. The club is always open, he said. I like when Sean gets excited midday. I love it.
It energizes us.
Yeah, it does. It does. Not gonna lie. And he just came back there. He was getting food and he was hyping up the traders in the back. Then he came to his desk. He started yelling when he saw his position. So he's got Intel short as well, INTC short. If you're following along the Katina Man's trades, make sure you are subscribing to more Trader TV Live, baby, because you'll be able to see his and Neil's positions as well as all the new updates, tickers, news items, etc. It's all on More Trader TV. And so when Dara and I are dropping hotlines on how to trade, you'll be able to see their positions live in living color.
Yes, you will. Also, we have 4 minutes till that 3-year note auction. Also, shout out to Joanna Brewster here, $2 club meta short. So congrats to you. That short off VWAP, that's beautiful. And you will get the $2 club meta short as we do here on Trader TV Live. Also, Kyle Burdett asking if I'm watching the SPY. Honestly, I have not been spying the SPY lately. I have had my IWM on my ETF SPY chart, side chart, but I'm going to change that right now. Thank you for pointing that one out because I feel like I had some okay SPY shorts last week. I was pretty proud, and I've been taking my eye off of it though. So let me keep an eye on this. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, there's certainly some opportunities here. Let me pull up the SPY. Oh, I see this VWAP area. Yeah, I'm going to have to keep an eye on this. Thank you, Kyle Burdett, for pointing this out. Big Kyle Burdett. I tried.
There you go.
Yeah,
big
Sharif knows how to say
Kyle
it.
Burdett.
Big Kyle Burdett. So there we go. We're going to have to see, though. I really like this look here. I'm going to keep an eye on what we do in the book here as we get into this 5/17/20. But right now, the main thing we'll be getting into is going to be the lesson du jour. So I don't think I'm going to want to spy the SPY while I'm also spying the lesson of the day. So we're going to keep an eye on this, though. It is on my side chart, and it will be on my mind. So let's see here how we go. Yeah, oh, we always love giving shout outs here, Joanna Brewster and everybody in the chat. So yeah, appreciate the love in this community. So we will always shout people out. Also, I will shout out Apple for being the nicest little range in this market today. I did get back in as we dipped into that 168.96 area.
I hate you for having a better price than me.
I didn't even, oh, you're in this. I'm so sorry. I mean, I'm trying to range it though too, right? So that's why I was like, I don't want to pinch pennies when I'm in this range because I'm going to be taking this out as we get to tens. Because to me, that's been like the area that I'm more comfortable with. So I'm going to take my 15 pennies. But Sharif, we're going to pamp it up hopefully into the quarter area. I mean, yeah, this Apple long, I've been just taking bites out of this Apple all day as we get into this 169.
What's the favorite type of Apple?
Oh, Macintosh. Now we said that at the same time.
Jinx.
That is the correct, knock on wood. But that's the correct answer, I think. I don't mind Granny Smith.
Granny Smith till a nightmare.
Pointing out Granny Smith. But yeah, in terms of like red apples, Macintosh.
There's Red Delicious, which is good. What are the green apples called? They're just called green apples.
Those are the Granny Smiths.
No. Are they?
Yeah, they're the Granny
Smiths. Green apples are Granny Smith?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, well, then I'm going to have to actually say it's a tie between Macintosh and... because I love me some sour apples.
But Macintosh is a bit more tart too, which is why I think
it is a little bit.
It's a little bit green as well, right? Like that it's like red with the Scotia green.
Yeah.
I think those are like the best Macintoshes. Sorry, we went on like a whole. No wonder Apple called itself the Mac. You know what I mean?
There you go.
After, in my opinion, one of the superior apples. So there we go. So we just got a shot of Sean working hard there, staring at the computer. So shout out to Sean. Also, Apple is about 3 pennies away from me taking another chunk out of this range. Sorry for that really weird image of me eating a fake apple here. But I am down for Apple to continue to go to the upside. How are you doing in Apple?
We're good. We're a whole 4 pennies right now in the money, Adair. No, 5. Okay. Not bad. I'm looking for a VWAP touch. Ideally, look, what I see here is a bounce off the 50, and it wasn't the first time it had done that. That's what got me into the long as opposed to looking for the short here. So we held up at the 50 initially at 12.20. We did it again at 25. We did it here at 12.50. We did it again at 12.55. So the 50, for whatever reason, featuring in Apple's price action today. So that's what precipitated me to get into this. But I've already got my out. If it breaks that 168 90 area. I have my out at 88. That's the end of the line for me. So we'll take a little bit of risk there, hoping Apple can continue to range in the way that it has been doing since essentially 1140 at this range, where it's held 168.90 to the downside and essentially, you know, more like 169.20, but more like 169.15 for the most part to the upside. So we'll see exactly what we get here on AAPL. We've been talking about it ranging all day. Let's see if we can actually profit off it at these moments. Somebody is excited over there because they're in an AMD short. So shout out to the Katina man who's continuing to print on AMD. Can you say that again? 850, you mean? Yeah. He said he could have chose either or, AMD or NVIDIA, because NVIDIA was at 850. He was thinking about possibly a short. And then what tipped the scales for him was, I'm holding the sticky note, and it was trade ideas number 2, and it goes by the following: AMD 168 support, 173 long. Feels like we may have found a base down here. Market trying to go now. Also watch NVDA. Thank you very much, Katina man, for that. The trusted sticky note pays again.
Yeah, I mean, you got to stick with the sticky note. I don't want to like make an official title for the. I'm so sorry. I have a problem.
I love it. I'm used to it by now.
That's true. But yeah, I don't want to like make a tagline for the sticky note, but I think if the sticky note did have a tagline, that could be a fun one. Also, we did take out some of this.
Auction. We have an auction. We have an auction. Yeah. Sorry. Look quickly here. Sorry, Adair, because the market started moving.
Yeah, no,
so,
I'm just trying to figure out what the ad.
Yeah, and I have to watch an ad here. Okay, so if you want to just take over for a second.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, yeah, I was trying to figure out what was happening with the auction. Yeah, we did take part of this Apple out. Just kind of as I was noticing we were struggling a little bit with the VWAP, I did take out some here at this 169.05. We are hopefully a couple pennies away, I believe, from my second beak wetter here. We did, like we said, we had to scalpulate with Apple being a little bit more hesitant to get to VWAP. I was like, we're gonna take some bites out of it as we get closer and closer to VWAP. So let's see how we do with AAPL. Also Meta. Oh, we're out of Apple.
Bang.
Thank you. But yeah, so Meta is interesting too. Meta curling down here. Let's see what we do. It looks like we're trying to make this move back up here. Anyone who had the Meta short off VWAP, shout out to a couple people in the chat here mentioning this. I believe Joanna Brewster. I think also you mentioned Callum Mitchell-Miller. So lots of our chat killing it with this Meta short, making mega wins on Meta. We're doing a little something here, these little dojis, but right now nothing to suggest a massive reversal here in META. Maybe it's just taking a little breath before it continues to go to the downside. Also, I just typed in NVDA, so that's a moment. NVDA though, if we keep rejecting this 846, this is a short for me. Why? Because we had this support earlier. This was previous support. That was the impetus for me taking the long. If this works as resistance. I don't know why I'm doing that thing with my eyebrows, but I'll take the short. There we go. Waiting for that auction
result. Yeah,
result
well,
there,
it typically takes a little bit of time. It was the 10-year guy. No, that's tomorrow.
Oh, Fugazi Bear put it in the chat.
3-year note auction. What do we get?
5.4, and the prior was 5.2.
Hold on, where's my chat? Who put it in the chat?
Fugazi Bear?
I don't even see that. Where are you looking? Oh, there we go. 5.4 prior, 5.2. Yeah, that was the prior. So the 3-year note. Here we go. We got 4.548. That is the official print on the 3-year note auction. 4.548. The previous was 4.256, but that's not the measurement. We have to look at what it was trading at before the auction, and I don't follow the 3-year. So sadly, I do not have that data. But we got printed here on AAPL, so we do come back into that high end of the range. We are at the volume-weighted average price Chilean Nightmare. As we come back into that possibly that $0.25 range, that's where I'll be sitting for the next beak wetter there. But Apple is really respecting the 50 period. So, if it comes back down into that 50 period, I'll be a buyer there again, but we're nicely in the money, about 20 pennies now on Apple. And as it is up now, about half a percentage point, Adara. Do we want to start the lesson?
Yeah, let's start the lesson.
Unless you're in a trade.
Oh, I'm good. We can start the lesson. I'm just going to keep an eye on my SPY. Thank you to Kyle Burdett for pointing this one out. I had an eye on what we did here around VWAP. I like that we're kind of holding and rejecting this level. So if we break up and above into that 517.40, I'll be out. We're giving this about 20 pennies, but I want to be trying to take some profits here as we get into 516.80, then into that 516.60. So I will have my eye on the spy, I spy, if you will. But the main thing we'll be spying for the next little few minutes here is going to be our lesson of the day. It's going to be false breakouts and confirmation strategies.
Okay.
So there we go. Today's lesson is going to deal with a very common enemy in range trading, the false breakout, provided to us multiple times today by our good friend Apple, which we can use that example later because Apple also false broke to the downside earlier today as well while I was in it. So yeah, I mean, that, and then as Sharif just put it out there too, we did have that false break out above in Apple. So Apple's been a really good example.
Pumping right now, baby. Go Apple.
Shout out to Sharif. Pamp it for Apple. Pample. But yeah, nice look there on AAPL, and congrats to Sharif on that. But what are false breakouts? So you want to imagine a price is trapped between support and resistance levels, Apple, earlier today, and a false breakout occurs when the price seemingly breaks above resistance in a bull trap or below support in a bear trap, only to quickly reverse and return within the range. And these false moves can inflict losses on unsuspecting traders. So as Sharif mentioned, we could probably include Apple in here as well today. But we did have, not right now though. So we did have this high here. It's going to be an example of resistance. Then we had some false breakouts up and above it with these little candles, these wicks up above into the outside. And then we have our true breakout, which is when we have strong volume pushing above. And then that's when we have the true breakout here. Here's an example, too, of this breakout failure in the Nifty, which is stocks in India, I believe. So we have this breakout, like this breakout question mark. But no, it's actually not, because we continue to come back to the upside. And that's why sometimes you have to consider where you're setting your stop losses and areas you want to get out to. And what's interesting, too, is look where we have this false breakout. We bounce off of that previous area, actually, of resistance. So I have no idea if that's what we're trying to show with this chart, but just something I noticed as someone who finds this stuff interesting. I think this is a cool look. And I also like that it has oops here for this breakout.
I love whoever made that. It wasn't me, though, but it's
Icon.
funny.
Whoever made that chart is a legend. They should come on here, honestly. But yeah, so good times there. But why do these happen? Well, there are a couple different reasons. It might be low volume, so you have the weak breakout because it's lacking strong buying or selling pressure, which can lead to a false move. There's also stop loss hunting. So you have traders with positions near support and resistance levels. They have stop loss orders placed just outside the range. And then a price spike will trigger these move above, shake them out, shake and bake, and then you've created a false breakout fueled by automatic selling and or buying. But then market noise is another one here too. You have random news events which might impact the whole market, but not this stock necessarily, but you get shaken out as because of that, or just short-term fluctuations in general. These can cause the temporary price spikes that don't reflect a true trend change. Identifying false breakouts, also really important to note. How do you do this? Price action. You want to look for weak follow through after the breakout. Does the price struggle to stay above resistance or fall below support? So you really want to watch to see what it does there as well. False breakouts also might have lower volume because it'll have lower volume compared to the genuine breakout. And these low volume breakouts can suggest a lack of conviction, a lack of oomph behind the price moves. Candlestick patterns, last but certainly not least. Price action reversal patterns like bearish engulfing bars after a fake bullish breakout or vice versa can indicate a potential fake out breakout. But let's look for some confirmation strategies here. You don't want to fall prey to the fake out. So here's how to confirm a breakout. You want to look for the price close. A breakout is more credible if the price closes beyond the support and resistance level on a daily or higher time frame chart, depending on your trading style. If you're a scalper, heck, it might even be what do we do in the 5 minute if you're trading off the 1 minute. You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I've been learning to use sometimes. So as long as it's higher time frame than what you're using, and again, it's really going to depend. As we've said, a lot of this stuff is going to be fractal, but the higher the time frame, the more confirmation, the more oomph there is to support that move. Also, though, volume spikes are really important. If you have a significant increase in volume accompanying your breakout, that could be a sign of stronger buying or selling pressure and a little bit more move, a little bit more conviction, confluence for your breakout. And it might not be.
You trolled me there. You were doing that on purpose so that I would hit the
You can always tell.
Yeah.
You can always tell when I'm doing it. So what happens when you sit next to people at a desk? But yeah, that time I was like, we need it. But yeah, good times there. Also, last but not least, technical indicators. Moving averages crossing above resistance or below support, or indicators like RSI, exiting to overbought, oversold zones, or however you choose to use the RSI. This can add a little bit of confirmation, a little bit of spice. Salt lay, I guess, to your trading. But remember, you really want to be patient. This is, of course, very hypocritical for me to say as someone who's still learning to add some patience and pack my patience in my trades. you really want to make sure by waiting for confirmation before entering a trade, you can significantly reduce the risk of getting caught in a false breakout. And really quickly, an example too, although right now Apple
it's going, bro.
was a great time for our pal Sharif, so I'm going to let him talk about that. But I want to talk about this false breakdown. Yeah, prop says Sean there, but I want to talk about this. This was an example of a false breakdown, I think, on Apple earlier, when we had this little wick down out into that 168.80. So I said to Dara, pack your patience in your Samsonite. And as long as we're to me, I was like, as long as we kind of stay above and bounce off this 168.80, 168.85 area, you're good to go. And we did. So I did end up staying in the trade, right? So sometimes it just requires having a little bit of a conviction. It really depends. And again, for me too, part of why I stayed was because this wasn't my stop loss. So I did end up lucking out there. But it really, because I had my stop, I was trying to leave a couple pennies after that up into 80s. But yeah, so I think that's one example. And as of course Sharif did give us earlier, that false, the other false breakout in Apple, which was that 169.20. Now though, Apple said, what are false breakouts? I'm making a real one. So I will let Sharif, our pal who was crushing, taking bites out of Apple on that trade, I will let him talk about his his Apple trade. But yeah, the Apple, good example of some false breakouts.
Yes. Apple, very, very interesting here. I mean, like, you don't have to be a chartered market technician to be able to see the fact that this was ranging, and it was ranging specifically with the volume weighted average price. We got a false breakout over here. It's a perfect, show based on the lesson that you had a big break. But then, this is the thing I was always talking about. I've got a bunch of different indicators up on my screen. Do I use all of them on any one day? No. Because the price action will not respect every single indicator on there. It's incumbent upon you to look and to see what it is respecting, if anything, on that day. And in my opinion, the 50 and VWAP played heavily into this range. All right, the 50 came and showed its importance umpteen amount of times, whether as resistance earlier, look at this, everything was rejecting off the 50, or as subsequent support earlier on. Likewise with VWAP, it was obviously that resistance level when we broke above and held above the 50, VWAP started acting as the level to reject off there. That is until you got a nice closing print well above it. And this is the level that I'm talking about here. Remember we were talking about, keeping your eye on the price action. Adara just finished talking about it right now. Price action, one of the ways to keep your eye out on for false breakouts. If the price really gets away from that resistance level on a closing basis, you may be onto something on whatever you're trading. So keeping an eye on Apple. I got out here nicely at 40. We took nice 40 penny winner there. We got in 169.03. We took it out 169.40. Now it's coming back down here. It looks like into the $0.25 area. I'll be looking to see if it bounces off VWAP. Are you guys surprised about that? We just finished talking about how VWAP featured as a resistance level. Now I'll be looking for it as support. Right now, the volume weighted average price on my chart is hanging out at 169.15 or thereabouts. So we'll see, number one, does it make it down there? Number two, if it does it hold up there, or are we going to just make another break through VWAP and then hold up at the 50 like we've been doing all morning? So we'll see. Well, not all morning, all afternoon. So we'll see here on AAPL. But the one that I'm really disappointed in myself with, and this is the one where everyone was saying, do it, ACRV. Yeah, I suck, I know. The point, trolling me. I didn't get into this one because it was a wide range per candle, and I felt I couldn't manage risk. I was wrong. It held VWAP beautifully. And then when VWAP was look at it, man, it's printing high days. More high days there. 11.75 now. That's $1.75 off where we were looking. I think I still have my dip trade set up at 10 bucks on this thing. It is. It's right there. There's the aqua line. We're sitting at 10.05. Obviously, we're not going to get filled in the way that I want to get filled, so let's remove that. I wanted to dip trade there. Sometimes these small cap gappers, they don't care about your dip trades. They're just going to go. And so this one was one of those ones. 11.5 is the level we'll look for now to see if it breaks on a closing basis. We got a couple of wicks there through 11.5, but nothing on the close. It's kind of spready too, so be a little careful with this one. For an $11 name, I've seen the spread as wide as 15, 20 pennies at times. Right now it's respectable, about 4 pennies, now even 3. So ACRV is, I would say, the best small cap gapper on the day, even though it's not the most ideal because it is quite spready and quite rangy, I should say. 91% to the good. Who can complain about that? So we'll see what this one presents us later as the show goes on, 1:15. So we have about another 45 minutes. We've got plenty of time. So we'll keep eyes on that. Someone was saying DJT made a bit of a pump there. So let's have a look at the Donald's stock over here. Okay, so we're very much, it's an inside day, right? Well, save and except for this one candle over here at 9:35. We're basically holding yesterday's low at 35.75. I think the better level is 36. Yeah, sure, we get into that 35.75 at 9:50 and 10 o'clock yesterday. But look where the majority of the price action based out. 36 was the level yesterday. It is again the level today, save and except for this one candle over here at 9:35, which was a hammer candle, as you can see, got bought up aggressively and immediately, precipitating a huge move up into 38 bucks. So DJT could be an interesting buy at 36 bucks, and that's 2 days in a row now that we've used that level as support. Aside from 36 bucks as support, have a look at what it's doing here at VWAP, near that $37 area. So you get the big move up into 38 and a fifth, 38 and a quarter, and then you get a big retracement, about $1 and a fifth of retracement right back down into 37, but it holds 37, and now we're doing the dance with no pants here at 37 and a half. So 50 pennies off that area of support. I'm going to keep my eyes on DJT. If it presents me with opportunities, I'll take it. I'm going to put it up on the side chart here with some of these other small cap gappers because, well, some of them are doing bupkis, Adira, so we can remove them and throw in DJT over here. Was Reddit a thing last week, or did it kind of die off?
I don't
died off.
think, yeah, I was going to say the fact that I don't remember is probably
exactly. That's
a sign.
yeah, and it's done nothing today. It's down 0.5%. So Reddit not featuring in as it did before I left, I guess. So
Reddit, forget it.
Reddit, forget it.
TLDR.
TLDO. Okay.
It's a Reddit reference, like too long, didn't read. Yeah, Fabian. I'm just gonna
What's going on here? What are all these like acronyms that I don't know? I feel old. I mean, I am old, but that's okay. Oh, okay. Shout out to D. Westermeyer because D. Westermeyer, he found it hilarious. So look at the poll. I said the greatest car of the 1990s. We have 4 options there: S95 Mustang, Pontiac Firebird, Chevy C4 Corvette, or the Cadillac Fleetwood, right? And then D. Westermeyer is like, I came back from a break and I look at the poll, and how funny is it? Because I just listed my Chevy C4 Corvette for sale, and I said to him, can you send me a picture? If that's all right with you, I wouldn't mind putting it on the broadcast. And here it is, baby. This is, what a beautiful car, man. This reminds me of the early 90s, late 80s. This is a beautiful beast right here. And he sent another one, too. Here it is. There's the interior. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is so retro, old school. D. Westermeyer, beautiful car, man. And kind of sad that you're selling it, but the Chilean Nightmare wants to know how much you're selling it for. So let me know, D. Westermeyer. Shout out to you, my man. Thanks for sending that to Neil.
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool looking car.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we were just cars, so many different things driving the market. I was trying to think of a transition there, but it's cool. So yeah, shout out to Kyle Burdett here as well, pointing out that SPY short to me. I've been piecing in and out of this. Pretty proud with how we're doing right here. We're basically flat on my average point of entry. I did add a little bit, like I said, I was looking to see what we did at that 517.40. We couldn't break above it with a viciousness. I said, Adira, add a skosh. So I did. And then I added back in here as we got back up into 517.12. Basically what I'm doing is taking out pieces of the position as we get down here into that 517 area. It's just 517 even. That's kind of what I've been trying to do there. That's been the impetus and the thesis of this trade thus far. So let's see how we're shaking here with the SPY. Keeping eyes on it. Right now we're compressing a little bit, so I'm trying to be cognizant of that. But yeah, that's the SPY. Also though, speaking of cars, I'm back in the Cybertruck. That should have been a better transition, just when we were talking about cars. Wow, Dara. But no, it's all good. I got involved here short. Initially, I was kind of worried. I was like, this could be a little bit that we're bouncing off this 90 EMA now instead of rejecting. That I actually feel like that is kind of what we're forming. So I'm going to watch and see what we do here at 175s. If we bounce 175s, cut it off, bye-bye. If we don't, though, if we keep seeing this rejection, and also, again, I do like that 175.50 area. I took a short off there earlier, right? So I like that we couldn't even get there again today, which is why I added to this position. But if we bounce off 175s, I think that's where the short is going to be a little bit dead. So I'm going to have to be cognizant of that area. I am in 2 shorts right now and just trying to see how these all shake out. This was, like I said, this has been, I don't even know what I said. Yeah, I think this has been a bit of a harder trading day for me today. I'm just trying to read these signals correctly. AMD, I was way too early to the short. Twice. So initially I like this 169.20 area, got involved too early. I said if we break above that 169.70, cut it loose. But I still like that level. So I noticed that when we got up into 170 and rejected, I said to Dara, get back in the trade. I did. We broke above 170. I got out, but it turns out I should have probably stayed and packed my patience a little bit because we continued to sell off. Shout out to Sean, who is, are you still short AMD? Yes, he is still short AMD. So shout out to Sean. With that esteemed Dollar Club member here, partying with the Dollar Club, AMD. Oh, pressing the button there, Sharif. But yeah, so Tesla, short, but I think we're getting a little bit stressful in Tesla. I'm not obsessed with my entry on this, so let's see and hope see if it's a Mesla or if we're Blessla. Shout out to Obi for giving us Blessla last week. So there we go on T to the S to the L today. SPY spiking up here, so I'm gonna probably have to cut this one short. In fact, I will. So I'm gonna, I might extricate myself from the SPY very quickly, if I may here. But yeah, happy you took out some of that earlier. Probably should have taken out more of that earlier, but it's all good. It's all good. You live, you learn, and now we're out of the SPY. So there we go.
Very nice.
Tesla. Let's see if we keep having this rejection. Rejectla. I don't know. I think though that I might have been incorrect about the entry here, and this might actually be a long.
Fabian, D. Westermeyer says 6,900 US dollars, and he'll deliver it to the GTA for free. So there you go, Fabian. You asked.
Good price.
And D. Westermeyer delivered. That is a good price. Shout out to D. Westermeyer. We don't know the mileage. Well, he did send a picture actually, so the mileage is right here. I'll tell you in a second, Katina, man. I might have to zoom in a little bit on this. That's a very good question. There's a lot of details left unanswered there. Yeah, you're good point. Is it automatic? Is it stick? Chilean Nightmare, do you drive stick? Yes. He does, baby. I like that answer, and he said it with confidence. Yes, yes, I drive stick as well. Nobody asked, but I'm just telling you. It's all good.
What's the difference? Because I feel like I don't.
Stick?
Yeah, it's like.
It's completely different. The gearbox is different. Okay, so, all right,
Okay.
It's not a big deal. I'll tell you. So, one, the shifting is done for you by the system.
Okay.
The other one, you have to engage the clutch, dislocate the gear by clicking the clutch and then shifting it into the next gear. So you do it manually.
So that's when you go from like drive to reverse.
No, that's automatic, right? So drive actually has multiple gears under that D.
Oh,
right?
and that's
depending.
what.
So new cars have 7, 8, 9 gears in drive. They used to only have 4 or 5. Sometimes 6. Now it's like crazy amounts. And the reason they do that is for fuel efficiency, right? Because if you can keep the RPM low by having it on a higher gear, you keep the fuel consumption down. But yeah, so when you see those people going, that's this stick. Katina, man. Yeah, so that's what that is. All right, let's get back into some trading focus here. Apple just broke through that $0.50 area, 169.50-ish. It's trading at right now. It just popped into the high 50s there, 56 or 57. I gotta tell you, let's bring in the Mag 7 over here. Apple is the only Mag 7 name above the volume weighted average price, and that includes the Fuge, who's also below the VWAP. So I'm not saying Apple's like an amazing long here or whatever, but for anybody who's long inclined, this is the only Mag 7 name that's above VWAP, and it's also positive on the day. It's up 0.5 percentage point. You can't say that for Meta. You can't even say that for Amazon or Microsoft. You can say that for Google and Tesla though, but definitely not for NVIDIA, which is down 3%. So Apple in positive territory on the day. Now, guys, keep in mind, that there are going to be possible catalysts here prior to the earnings call and WWDC in June. Apparently, we're going to get a revamped iPad, and it's the first time, and I think in 2 years. I know, or they're gonna change it some other way. I don't know. Fabian's trolling me right now. There's going to be a redesigned iPad apparently in the works. The iPad Pro is supposed to be getting new specs and a new redesign. But to be quite honest with you, have you looked at the iPad sales as of late? Down and to the right. People are not as enthusiastic about that. And to be even more honest, the upgrading cycle for iPads way longer than the upgrading cycle for the iPhone. So we'll have to wait and see what we get there. Also, Meta just did a false breakout, Adara. Right, is this real? Can you one? No, you're busy. You're doing
I'm not.
something.
I can pull it up.
Pull up Meta. See if that wick did come into 516 1/3. Is that real wick there? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So Meta just popped up
Oh wait, no,
there
mine's like
aggressively.
just shy of 515.
Meta just popped. Okay, it was trading at 513.5. It shot up to 516.5, and now it's back down to 514.5. So some volatility coming in here midday for Meta, breaking through VWAP, but coming right back down. Not sure what that's all about. Just wanted to point that out. Meta getting some action here.
Yeah, I mean, this chat, as Bears vs. Bulls was saying, chat wins. Like, you know, people are having lots of fun with the stick shift and all the different engine sounds and stuff like that. Sassy saying, someone teach her how to drive a stick shift stick. Yeah, I don't drive, but yeah, very cool. Tesla though, I did have to. Speaking of driving, I had to leave this trade. I basically just got out 175.30s. I was like, hey, Adara, you don't want to lose more than you need to lose. And this is clearly not the vibe. So, and you know, the thing is too, is I actually went against my intuition on this because I said, Adara, your intuition is generally iffy at best. So if you like the long here, look at how nicely we were sitting pretty here at this 9 EMA. Maybe try to take the short. We are rejecting that area. We've had lower highs, lower lows. So I took the short, and it looks like, shocker, maybe the intuition was correct there. I don't know. But in the end, we didn't lose too much here. Although Tesla was initially our top name of the day. It's been taken off that spot by a little dude named Apple. So Apple decided, hey Adara, I'm gonna try to make your day. So thank you, Apple, much appreciated. I'm really proud with what I did with these ranges, I have to say. Just getting in, getting out. Sharif though had the big Apple trade of the day, taking that breakout to the upside there.
So
nice. Nice look, yeah. Sharif says it was nice. So nice look there. Yeah, Tim cooking with that one.
Cooking.
Right now though, we're breaking out of this range unless we bounce here. Probably not much for me. Also, though, shout out to Brad Gober saying that I missed this opportunity with this Amazon long. Yeah, this is, oh, come on. Now it's probably breaking down. I've said this before, too. Amazon and I have an interesting little trading relationship. I find whenever I want to get involved, and the thing can be right, it can be in a nice little trend all day. Mm-hmm. It can be, you know, pleased as punch, it's a good look. And then I try to be like, hey, Amazon, can I join the party? And then whatever party Amazon's been having, immediately switches course. If it's a long, it will go to the downside. If it's a short, it will go to the upside. And the second I leave, it will reverse course. Now, this might seem a little bit paranoid, but when a thing happens enough times, you kind of wonder. No, but all jokes aside, this is a really nice range. The one thing that's stopping me from getting involved right now is A, this big old red candle, and B, this rejection of the 9 EMA, with C, this little topping tail candle here at 185.20. To me, this is a big sign saying do not go long right now. It'll probably prove me wrong. I'm going to keep an eye on it. If we do, in fact, bounce at 185, I will probably be trying to do an expedited delivery of a long in AMZN.
I love how you did that, eh? Expedited delivery, you're hilarious. Yeah, my mom loves Amazon for the next day. But did you know that people downtown Toronto get same day?
Really?
I don't in Midtown. Well, apparently I don't live in Midtown according to the Katina man, but yeah, it's all good. You get? The warehouses are out there. Okay. The distribution centers and whatever. Yeah, I don't get same-day delivery, but that's all good there. Now, I wanted to talk about XPEV, guys, because for whatever reason, XPEV and NEO are up high single digits. XPEV is up 9%. NEO is almost up 7%. Li Auto, a.k.a. the dead one, is up 0.93. And here's the move on XPEV. So you've got a nice little 755 pre-market range there, and then we popped up into 805. We've been holding 8 all day, and we have been above the volume-weighted average price all day. In case you're wondering what's going on with Chinese ADRs today because most of them are in green territory. Here it is. Shares of Chinese EV stocks are trading higher amid broader China strength. Chinese stocks may be impacted by U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's China trip and upcoming inflation data. That's obviously coming tomorrow. Yep, Janet Yellen was in China, or I don't know if she still is, in China, looking to obviously fix some of the issues that the two countries are having at the moment. We'll see exactly what bears fruit out of her trip, but she's helped some of these Chinese ADRs have a decent day today. I was talking to Neil this morning about why some of these were moving, and he was of the opinion that, despite her comments being, I don't want to say negative, they're not as bad as the market was predicting, and I happen to agree with that because, well, we all know the relationship between the two countries. It's been strained. It's been strained for a while, but it's not getting any better at the moment. So we'll continue to watch these Chinese ADRs. Let's see if there's continuity tomorrow or if it's just a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. All right, back to AAPL. We were talking about AAPL coming back down, Chilean Nightmare, into that into that volume-weighted average price area. And the volume-weighted average price area on my chart is 169.15. And look what that candle just did. It came into 169.18 and popped right back up. So I want to see here, does VWAP now act as a level of support since we've cleared it and closed above it for almost, let's say, 20, 25 minutes? I'll be watching here to see if we can stay above VWAP for another maybe 170 retracement. I'm still of the opinion, though, that we reject off 170 if we make it up there until, something changes with AAPL here. So let's watch Apple, volume-weighted average price. Let's see if we can continue to hold this level and possibly retrace into that 170 area. Dan, the man Emmons, new trade, if not already short from the morning. NQ, this one is NQ short 290, stop 306. Targets 245, 225, and 198. Shout out to you, Dan. Hope you print. Let me know exactly how it goes. Sounds like you've got the levels down to a science there. Aaron Scott Matthews. I'm new to the small cap gappers and I've had 2 months of 10 to 50% gains every day. Seems too good to be true. Question. Are we in a season of some kind, or is this typical? So, I've talked a lot about this, and, I don't have any data to back me up, but this is what I've just personally made, anecdotal observations. These small caps, they come in waves. Typically, they're spurred on by one monster that runs triple digits, sometimes even quadruple digits, 1,000% or so on the day. And then what you'll see is that the next day, week, even 2 weeks, you'll see multiple triple-digit small-cap gappers show up on your scanner. So I feel somehow that they come in waves. Sometimes, it's precipitated by one factor. Sometimes it's others. But yeah, you bring a really good point. Try to catch them while they're hot, so to speak, because sometimes you can come in and you open up your scanner at 8:30 in the morning, and the biggest gapper is 40%. And that's when you know that it's not small cap season, and maybe to kind of stay away from them or to take smaller share size. So shout out to you, Aaron. Great that you actually made that observation. What do you got?
Yeah, I was gonna say too, I think once you started pointing that out, that was a huge thing that I started noticing is you'll have them, they'll have little friends, you'll have one, Holo was I think the one that precipitated the most recent run, yeah. And initially it brought its friend Wimmy Hologram with it. So it was two little hologram names running together. And then it brought all these other small cap pals into the mix, out of the woodwork, trading up, 100, 200, 300% a day. And then they kind of calmed down. It's like earnings seasons, it's like small caps have their own earnings season, except instead of earnings, it's they just decide to run. So it's interesting. They usually have some kind of, I love what Sharif did with the hands.
It's like,
so that's what the small caps do. But yeah, it's something I'm trying to pick up on. And then I can always really tell too, depending on how long it takes me to find small cap names for the small cap recap. If it takes me a good long time, and I'm like, oh, do I have to? Are there any other names to use? This name's only up 30%. Like today was, I think, a little bit. Some of these big runners weren't really giving me as much juice as you wanted at that time, right? So then that today was kind of one of those days where I was a little bit more hesitant. I was like, oh, I wish we had some better runners to play with. You know what I mean? But there's other days where you'll have these massive big moves up and it's like, oh, only 3. I could pick like 5 or 10 small cap names running.
Right.
I think that's usually how I can tell. And so I'm happy I'm able to kind of get a sense of small caps through that because it'll give you a good sense of what's running. But yeah, long story short, I am currently involved in the SPY yet again. Ooh. I did try to get involved in this earlier. Shout out to Kyle Burdett. I was happy with his profit taker I took here right at that bottom wick at the time at 517. Then unfortunately got out because we broke above that 517.40 at top wick at the time. So literal highs and lows here of my trading journey today on this chart, but all good. We are making lower highs now, so I decided to get back into the SPY. If we have a little rest here, pause at 25s, I'm going to add to this position just a skosh. Looks like we are coming into that, so I'm going to be prepared to add here.
Yeah, thank you.
Then I want to be adding and see what we do at 35s. Then, of course, 40 is going to be like my big area to add. We're going to add here actually these 21s because I feel like we're being primed for a move down. I want to have enough shares to take this move to the downside. We are consolidating, so I have no problem just getting out here at this 517 area. Just like I said, working at being scalpy, the longer I wait in trades, the more kind of iffy it gets, and that's a huge thing. I was talking about Sharif with this off camera, just trying to have confidence in my trade and what I see in the chart. It's a huge thing I'm trying to learn. And so right now, I do like these lower highs. I do think if I'm planning this as a scalp as we get into 517, then hopefully I execute it accordingly. But again, shout out to Kyle Burdett for pointing this one out to me because the SPY certainly has some short opportunities. Big Kyle.
Man, ACRV is going here, Adara. Wow, this is the best small capper on the day, hands down, but tough to trade for me just because it is really volatile and spready. And oh, my mistake. I'm not even looking at the most recent price action. As I say that, it starts to tank. Literally, I was looking, sorry guys, I had it pulled over like this, so I didn't see the most recent price action. My apologies for that. It is now coming down below $11. So the reason I'm interested in it at this level is because we saw here at 12:15, 11 was that level of resistance. We couldn't break through it. And then the breakthrough came at 1 o'clock, 1:07. So about an hour below this level. Now we're at 11 again. Now we're breaking down below 11. I want to see, you're not going to catch me trying to get a dip trade on this. This is going to have to curl and prove to me that it's going to curl, getting it on the back end, as Neil likes to say. That's after it's proved to you that, number one, it's respected that 11 level, and number two, that it's printed a couple of green candles to show you that buyers are stepping in at 11. So I like this level. Whether or not it holds up, an entirely different story, but yeah, ACRV, great looking name on the day. And it's looking real good right now, I got to be honest with you. So I'm going to go ahead and sit at $11 here for a trade. Okay, so now I'm long ACRV. My line in the sand is going to be 1080. So I'm going to give this about 20 pennies. If it breaks through 1080, I'm out. I'm going to give it to you, Adair, because I have to put in my stop.
Camp it. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say there. I can take the wheel here for sure. Kyle Burnett saying that most recent Big Kyle was the best one yet, so I'll take it. But yeah, so good times. Yeah, practice certainly makes perfect with saying names and also with trading. And like I am, I guess, a little bit of a slow learner with trading. I can't believe it's been like 6 months of me sitting here.
I can't believe it either. Good for you.
Time flies. I mean, thank you. I'm still very rough. I am still. Oh, I like that. The little Bitcoins. Oh, that's a congratulations one. That's why.
Congratulations. Bang! There goes ACRV right off 11. We get 30 pennies. Let's see now if we can print. I'm going to wait next at the $50 Adara. I got excited. I'm sorry.
No, for a second here, I thought you were having the bang button because Neil was there in the window. And I was like, woo, Neil. And then I was like, oh, trade, which is awesome. So Neil and trades, both things we love here on how to trade. So good times there. But yeah, I just added to the SPY position a little bit. Like I said, just planned additions as we get into the 40s because that 40 area was a nice little reduction area earlier. But yeah, like I said, I think a big thing with trading is not being too hard on yourself is something I've learned. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like a trade just doesn't work out because you planned it poorly, but other times it's like you can get chopped up or, the bamboozled. We just talked about false breakouts, right? So I think it's the appropriate amount of balance. And I think it's also recognizing, and this is really hard for me to realize as someone who, I like to get things right away. Trading is not like that.
No.
It's not like that at all.
Sometimes it is. At 9:30 it is.
9:30, yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to catch me trading that, though. That's big kahuna territory right there.
Big kahuna territory, yes.
There he is. There is one of the kahunas. He gave you that look, too.
Yeah, he's like, but yeah, he's saying hit the like and subscribe button there, so shout out. But yeah, so right now, SPY, let's see what you do at 50s. If I SPY this breakup above, which I'm kind of spying right now, we're going to have to get out of the trade. Brad Gober saying, yeah, quit setting tight stops on Amazon, you'd be up right now. That's a good point. I agree with that, and I honestly was a little bit hesitant, but I was trying to focus on my SPY trade. Let me pull up the Amazon. And the thing is, too, though, is that the main reason I got out here was because I didn't like what we were doing with this 90 MA. I didn't like that we were having these lower highs. I was looking at this trade for a second, and it was kind of like, Adara, I don't know if you're getting in because you like the trade or because you want to like the trade. And I think that's what happened with Amazon. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to I don't know if that makes any sense. I sound like I'm like a self-help book or something. But I got in here because I thought this was a nice base for a range. And I think people are right. Clearly, shout out to Brad Gober and everybody else killing it on this trade. But it just wasn't for me. I didn't like these lower highs. And honestly, in retrospect, I wouldn't really want to be involved because it could be a flat top break. My entry wasn't great. Or sorry, flat bottom break. I'm going to stop waxing poetic because it's who's it helping? But the point, also I'm trying to get out my SPY here. But the point that I'm trying to make is I need to be getting involved in trades that make sense for me. And that was kind of why I decided, hey, Adara, maybe this is not indeed the vibe for myself. But again, shout out to anybody killing it with that trade. Amazon, I am not Obi. I am not somebody who trades Amazon frequently, and I find Amazon to be a bit of a fickle creature. Yeah. So there we go. And congrats to anybody. Yeah, Rushaba, I just did get out of the SPY. I did see that flat top break coming. I was like, but yeah, points. I'm really trying to work on my entry, and just you have to give yourself some grace in trading it.
Yes, you do. Absolutely agree. So we got in at 11 Adara on a CRV. I wet my beak there initially at 20, and then I got the rest out there on the break of 35. Ideally, I would have liked to have 40, but the as it went up in price and got towards that 1140 area, the spread really started opening up. So I was a little nervous about that, and that's what precipitated me to get it out on the bid rather than waiting for the ask, but profitable. And I'm very happy that I got it off a dip trade and off a key resistance level. That is what I want to employ. I find the trades that I do the worst on, and I talked about this yesterday, but I think it bears repeating, are the ones, I didn't chase them in the classical sense of chasing. I just identified a stock that I felt was trending, and I got in at a level that I thought was good, but it wasn't based on technical analysis. Now, when I base my entries on dips off support, I seem to have a way higher win rate, and that was just something that I was able to analyze on my own data. Yours may be different. Maybe you guys kill it when you get in right away. Your instincts are better than mine. Maybe mine are a little delayed, which causes me to not get in as quickly and miss some of the move. Hence why I have to rely on the dips to get a better price. So I'm happy with this trade, yeah, very profitable so far. Please as punch. Amazon just broke aggressively there. Is that what?
I'm happy I got out.
Okay. What were you doing? Were you long or short?
I was long.
You were long.
That's
okay.
why
Good,
I realized we were seeing lower highs.
I thought you were short.
Yeah,
That's
I wasn't comfortable with it, so I got. We lost 4 pennies on this. I got out before that break.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you did anything wrong here, Dara. You got it exactly off the base that it's been repeating since 1040 this morning. Yeah. And if you're not going to rely on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, you see where I'm going with this. Yeah. If that isn't enough to get you in a trade, I don't know what would be. So I don't think that there was anything wrong with that trade. But AMZN doing the dance here, 184.75. But I was looking at Amazon when I came back from the trip, and this thing is a dang monster. All right? Look, so from this year, the bottom of this year, to where we are right now, what are we up? Nah, that can't be the case. Oh, that's January of last year. Excuse me. Amazon is up over 130% from last year, January of last year.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's not this year, January of last year. But
no wonder Obi loves it. This one is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, right? Shout out to the Ob, the one that can Ob. Yeah, Amazon, it's been doing real well. Sorry for the pivot points. They obviously distort the chart here, but you guys can get the general sense of the direction just based on the color and whatever. Yeah, AMZN, very interesting name here. We'll keep an eye on that. Apple continuing to range trade, but there are 3 different levels of range trading today. There was this one over here, and then this one, and now we have a new one. So VWAP, again, acting as now a key area of support. Previously, it was resistance. Now we're looking at VWAP here at 169.15, 20, thereabouts, acting as a key area of support, and you're able to bamboozle about 30 pennies out of that if you play the range. So the low side, I would say 169.15, 169.20. I would say to the high side, if you're on the conservative side, you're looking at that $0.50 area, 169.50 or thereabouts. But yeah, AAPL putting in higher highs and higher lows, but eventually it ranges for an hour, half an hour, whatever, and then it ends up breaking through that range to the high side. So AAPL, we'll look to maybe get a dip trade here. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to Apple. I'm going to put a dip at that 169.15. Oh, what did I just do there? 169.15 or thereabouts. Did I screw up? No, there we go. We're good to go. On Apple, I'm going to send it to you, Adara, if I can just for a second so I can put in my orders.
I'm also trying to get a bite out of the apple, too. That's funny. Right as you said that, I was like, because I just put my order in for 169.21, so you will get the better price point on this one. But I do like this little range. I like he's just forming very nicely here. And you're right, there's like kind of been like elevator, like different levels of ranges. Like, so I think this is a nice look. And I do think that, I was talking about this yesterday, too. Sometimes when you're playing ranges, you want to be cognizant of the overwhelming trend in the market. So in this case, Apple, the range has been basically giving you like different little flavors all day, but it has been in a general upward trend. So I wouldn't want to short the top of this range necessarily. I might want to more go long the bottom, which is what Sharif and I are both, I think, trying to do right now. Because if you go short on the top of this range, there's always a risk it'll break out to the upside, right? So that kind of is the, to me, just the take on Apple to kind of reflect on a lesson from yesterday. Also, this SPY. This SPY was teaching me lessons. Yeah, shout out to Kyle Burdett, printing, he said in the chat there. I just had the timing on this very badly. And then, of course, we have the big move down in the market. I got out top wick, and the SPY goes down. Sometimes all you can just do is laugh and be like, you know, things happen. The market teaches you lessons. It doesn't care about your feelings. You know what I mean? So we lost in this trade.
Sometimes I feel like it purposely wants to hurt you. Not only does it not care if you're happy or sad, but sometimes I feel it may want you to be sad. It gets
so you're saying it does care about your feelings?
That you're sad.
In a bad way, yeah.
Obviously. Talking out of my rear end, but you know, there's 15 minutes left on the show, so that's all.
I can't believe it's only 15. Time always flies here.
Right?
On the How to Trade desk. But yeah, so right now this SPY, nice look. KC, I agree with what you're saying in the chat here with this 517 being a very interesting level here for the SPY. Honestly, if I was feeling in a more, you know, adept mood, I'd probably try ranging this right now. But yeah, I think the market it's got me down just a skosh. How are you doing?
Look at the midday show. Yeah, there you go. I just I love it. I love it. It's like I see lines everywhere. I go.
Good.
Can I tell you though that I genuinely do see patterns a little differently?
Oh yeah.
Right?
This is
a shower, bro.
Yeah. Fabian says Adara after 6 months, and it's like you see patterns
I need ranges, baby. I need those ranges.
Thank you, Fabian, for setting this. And yeah, this is literally, I'm always like, oh, there's a range, there's a pattern.
Yeah.
Like every chart, I immediately start drawing my little lines. Like Sharif has even seen this. Like I'll sit down and I'll be like, and you're like, oh, already drawing lines? And I'm
right?
Like, yeah.
Ardara, since we got like 10 minutes left on the show, it's time for my little rant. Now, Arsenal is playing today. Yeah, and it's Bayern Munich. Boo! Hold on, Chile Nightmare, are you a Bayern fan? Okay, good. That's all right, no problem. So anybody who's watched soccer in the past, football, whatever, knows what Bayern did to Arsenal last time we met in the Champions League, and it did not go Arsenal's way. It was a full-out shellacking. We ended up beating them, I think, by like a goal on our land, on our turf, but when we went there to Allianz, we got beat up. I don't think it ends up anywhere near that this time. Arsenal, fundamentally different team, and Bayern, also a fundamentally different team in a bad way. I don't like the way that they're playing at all. They're not going to win the Bundesliga for the first time in 10 years. It's all about Leverkusen and Xabi Alonso. And they have injuries. I think they're forcing a lot of their players to come back early. I'm talking about you, Manuel Neuer. I'm talking about some others, Kingsley Coman, as well as Leroy Sané. These are all players that are coming back from injury that I am assuming are not 100%, but that are being forced back because They're not going to win the Bundesliga, so their best chance at a trophy this year probably is the Champions League, if not the DFB Cup. I don't know if the DFB Cup has been decided yet. So I think today at the Emirates, we beat them. But my bold prediction is we beat them at the Allianz, not tie. We beat them there. And the second leg is next week on Wednesday. I want Arsenal in the Champions League semifinal, baby. We haven't been there, obviously, in a long time since we went to the final and lost with Thierry Henry and crew, and that was like eons ago. So Arsenal over Bayern today. Arsenal over Bayern next week. We're taking you out, and that's the end of the story. Shout out to my man, Adam.
Yeah, I mean...
Sorry, I just had
yeah,
the mic
no, I'm
drop.
just trying to find, like, that's great. Yeah, I mean, hopefully go Arsenal.
Yes.
Go Gunners, yes?
Yes, Adira. Yes, they're the Gunners.
But yeah, also, yeah, no, it's, I like, you were saying too, every player has their own little chant and stuff too. And I'm like, I should have known that because I was actually thinking Ted Lasso as well, which is, as we know, my only exposure to
yeah, I know,
Premier League. But it teaches you a lot. Like, I'm actually able to keep up more than I thought I would. So shout out to Apple TV, I guess. And speaking of Apple, this has been the range trade of the day, honestly. To just bring it back to trading, just to Scotia. I did not get filled, unfortunately. Actually, I still have my order out, so we could here. It's at 21s. I would be pleased as punch for that.
Yeah, so Chilean Nightmare just has to do something, so he's going to leave it on one of us for a little bit. So I'll just talk for a little bit just to cover. Because there's nobody to help him out today. Chilean Nightmare's all on his own, baby. Yes, so right now, guys, as you can see, I've got this dip trade set up on AAPL. And the reason is we got set up at 169.15 or thereabouts, Adira, is because I want to get a dip trade off the volume weighted average price. And the idea here would be just to play the range. So it's been a range trade type day for Apple. Whether you took it off the lows or midday, it has been, I don't want to call it a predictable trade because the second I say that, it's going to flush me out. But the levels have held for whatever reason on AAPL. Here we go. We're about a couple of pennies possibly here from getting triggered on the long on Apple. I'm sitting at 16s. Ideally, I'd like a defend of the low end of the range, which is 15. So the reason I'm getting there, we're long now on Apple, so it's going to have to hold up here, or otherwise I'm just going to get out. So the ranges have held up today, and so if the ranges don't hold up now, I don't want it. So 169.05 is going to be my line in the sand on AAPL, but I'm already out of the money on this one, about 4 pennies. Let's see if this one can bounce back up. What are we doing here on the future? Yeah, not much going on here on the future, to be honest with you. So Apple close to getting stopped out here on AAPL. It's not holding up at the bottom end of the range, but there is that 50 period that it's respected. And the 50 period is at 06, which is perfect for me because I want to get out 05. And if it breaks a 50 period, I want nothing more to do with this name. And maybe it'll set up as a short now. And maybe we'll get it as a short if it breaks down below the 50 period EMA on the 5, which again on my chart is 169.07, 169.06. So good look possibly here for AAPL, but we'll have to wait and see whether or not we get that bounce back up. I feel like I have to stare at this now because I haven't put in my stop and I can't send it to you to put in my stop either. So we'll keep eyes on we'll keep eyes on it here. Oh, Nick Free, my man, thank you. €2 super chat. Thank you very much, Nick. Free thoughts on LW. Let's bring in the side chart here because I have to manage the Apple trade. And we'll look at LW while we look at Apple. Well, we manage Apple, not look at Apple. All right, let's pull that up. Oh, wow. What is this? This is a good looker right here, I'll tell you that. So LW, what is this? Lamb Weston Holdings, $11 billion market cap. Definitely not small here.
They had earnings last week.
They did, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you would know. Yeah, I mean, you do the earnings. Obviously, you would know, right? Let's see here. Okay, first I need to see the wider time frame. Let's put in the ticker first so everyone can follow along. Everyone knows what we're talking about. That's the ticker. Now let's go ahead and have a look at the daily. What do we got here on the daily for LW? Okay, so it's a decent trend, essentially from March 2022 onwards. Looks like we crested out at that 115 area. That was back June 30th of last year. So oh yeah, you're right, Adair. There's the big boy Huadunk right there. We dipped from 107 and we dipped the same day to 80. So that's a bit of a tough look. I got to tell you, Nick, you know, with an earnings play like that, a bit of a tougher look, but I think you might have at least some possible support here, or you might have a nice retracement play into 83 bucks. And the reason I say that is because it takes us all the way back into that key area of support, which probably may act as an area of resistance now from October of last year. We kind of troughed out with the closing print being around 83 bucks on LW. So if you're looking for a possible move back, I definitely have eyes on 83. Otherwise, yeah, it would. Otherwise, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how I would trade that. All right, Apple coming into that area. Dare, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I just got out of my Apple. I also got into Apple though at a, like, you got a better price in Apple than me. So yeah, so I got out here. I started to get out as we really were struggling with 13s. Then we only got part filled, got out the rest at 07s. So yeah, I mean, took a bit of an out. Right now, Tesla's like, hey, I'm Adara's top trading day of the day, so go Tesla. But yeah, Apple, second best name of the day. This was a rough trading day for me. You know, NVDA was we had some good trades, we had some bad trades. But I think the biggest thing I've learned is just, Adara, if you want to take a trade, make sure it's a trade that you're comfortable with and that you have your own individual reasons for taking and convictions with. And there's sometimes where there's like really good ideas, but I just, about getting the conviction, getting the timing right, that's SPY. Shout out to Kyle Burdett printing on that short. I just had the timing very rough on it. So it's something I am trying to work on, and I'm always so grateful for this community, for everybody sharing their views and what they're trading and what's working out for them. Because I mean, when you're printing, we're all printing, like in a metaphorical sense. But yeah, so I mean, honestly, I think it's very cool to be a part of a community like this. Also, yeah, I was talking to Hayden Ponus here in the chat asking, you know, like when you're in the sim, what are kind of different ways you manage risk? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I still try to take it pretty seriously, and it's hard too because you want to make sure, I trade exclusively basically here on the midday and how to trade and during this lunch hour. So I wasn't to make sure that I'm in trades while I'm on the show, right? So of course, it's really going to depend for different people. But I think one thing I'm trying to learn is just make sure every trade I'm taking, there is an impetus that I like, especially because, as I said, the goal is to go live, try to take that test.
Can I ask you something?
Please do.
What are your thoughts about trading midday? And it's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah,
a little bit. And let me explain why it's a little bit loaded. Not specific to the time of day itself, but do you find that there is any advantage in trading the same time of day? Because you did an entire segment on that last week.
That is
right?
true.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's probably fresh in your mind.
It is fresh in my mind. And I think, too, the thing is, it lets you kind of know what the typical market movement is during the time of day. And I never thought about that. I only trade. Yeah, I like that. So one thing I like, too, is hey, around 1 p.m., if you have any little number, things may be getting into flux, right? So hey, at 1 p.m., what positions am I in? Do I still want to be in these positions, right? At 11:30, you might have a bond auction yesterday. That moved things around a little bit, right? So you want to keep your eye on that. Sometimes you have Fed speaker company events, or Jay Powell's going to be on the mic at 2, right? So I think it's familiar in a way that does help you prepare. Obviously, every day is going to be a little different, but it lets you know the timing of when things might be important, when things might come into play. And I never, even though we did this whole lesson last week, I didn't really think about it in relation to myself. So thank you. I really appreciate you asking me that question. The other reason I like trading the midday, or I find it kind of, cool to have that one time of day you trade in, is the time of day I trade in happens to be very rangy. And as someone who likes range trading, or sometimes calls them Adara Panera trades, I'm pleased as punch about that. Who knows if I like range trading because I trade the midday, or I like the midday because I like trading ranges, chicken or egg. But either way, I'm down.
Yeah, I know. Either way, I'm down.
Free range, I guess, for the chickens.
I guess the reason I asked you that is because when I personally try to trade, like 10, 9:45, 10:30, whatever, and I try to trade with the same methods and the same techniques, I find it's completely different, right?
It'd be hard, yeah.
And so I ended up doing poorly during those times because I've been trading 11 to 2 since August 2022 when I started doing the show, right? Every single day at that time, right? Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. We got a minute left. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my only final thought is, what a day. Like, I always just want to take lessons from this because I did learn a lot. When I say learn, I mean lose. As Sharif said, you either win or learn. Today, we're going to say we learned. Thank you so much to Vin and everybody in the chat here for all your support. Bears versus Bulls. This is, people sharing their own different opinions as well on how to trade and what times of day they trade, which is, I think, what's great here is that we have different people sharing their opinions. Right now, though, opinions will be shared by the Big Desk and the Big Kahunas in a couple seconds here. We'll see you tomorrow for our third of 5 days on range trading. So actually, actually very apt that we're doing this in the midday when we have ranges.
Right.
But we will see you tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. Brendan's at the big desk.
See you guys.
For range trading at this point as well, although today's a little bit more exciting. Back to the downside for the overall market. Ahead of what's to come over the next couple of days, if you haven't looked at an economic calendar, coming up tomorrow, we'll get the latest reading on inflation with CPI. PPI then comes on Thursday, so 2 in a row with inflation attached to them. Even Friday, now that I think of it, Michigan sentiment coming up 10 o'clock on Friday morning is also something that is considered to be